Monday Night Virtual, the man, WCW United, honored to have a jersey.
5, 6 years old.
5, 6 years old. Auction your Iceman, and out of all the nicknames, Mike Tenay referred to you as that.
Yeah.
3 hours, we'll give you a shout out nearby Piscataway, New Jersey. Keep them rolling in the
Picture.
There you go. Let's do it.
I had the 1,000.
Falls Inlet, South Carolina, with the 3 weeks off. Kind of lost connection with some of the 80s wrestling universe out there. Next up, we got Dan Jor. Dan Jor in Dudley, Massachusetts.
Sounds French.
Sounds French indeed. Like the soup du jour. We have the Dan of the day. 80swrestlingcon.com.
Dan wants Iceman and Man of 1,000.
Iceman and Man of 1,000 Volts. Yeah, sometimes you'll
Somebody
notice.
give me this moniker is way too long.
I'm waiting for somebody to have all of your nicknames, including Stud. That'll be a good one. Keep those questions and comments rolling in. We're going to get to as many as we can tonight. Mr. Malenko's had a long and illustrious career, so if you have any memories you'd like to share, include them in the chat. Next up, we got Don Simmons in St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, a great wrestling city.
That it is.
To Don. So many things we could talk about. We got ECW, of course, the legendary match with Eddie Guerrero, and then we go on to WCW with the cruiserweights. Did you guys at the time have any idea how much you would be changing the future of the business, or were you just going out there and doing it?
Just going out and having fun. You know, it wasn't until years later when we looked back and the audience looked back and really was marveled by what they saw.
Yeah.
You know, it was the first. Mm-hmm. First time that many guys got together from different countries and really good matches.
Yeah. And was there any backlash that, like, because now you always see that the young upstarts, maybe in AEW or NXT even, they always get, you know, some of the veterans that are like, oh, I don't know what they're doing. Did you guys face any of that because you were doing a style that hadn't really been seen in the United States prior?
Well, probably, if anything, we kind of took the limelight away from them.
Yeah.
So there's that animosity, like, what are these guys doing out there? You know?
Yeah.
Putting on a show.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember the WCW Starrcade '97, which of course was, you know, billed up as Sting versus Hogan. There was that whole, well, Sting go NWO, WCW, so now we're finally getting the match. And I remember you going out there with Eddie Guerrero and just tearing the house down. And I could only imagine what some of the guys that had to follow that were thinking in the back.
That was half the fun.
Yeah.
Going out there, if it was myself and Ray, or it was Eddie and Ray, or whatever, two combinations of guys that go there and tear the house down, was a lot of fun.
Unbelievable. And it's changed the business to what we have now. I mean, when you have guys like Daniel Bryan saying, Dean Malenko was my guy, that really is a testament to how much you guys did change.
That sounds kind of funny. Dean Malenko was my guy.
Dean Malenko was my guy.
I know what he meant.
That was a direct quote. He wasn't the one that called you Stud. No worry. Next up, we got Harold Howell in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Viva.
To Harold, and that's the shot of Dean with the WWE Light Heavyweight Championship. I felt like WWE was trying to capitalize on what WCW had done with the cruiserweights, but unfortunately, they didn't give the light heavyweights as much time to shine. Next up, we got Brian Lanzieri in Connecticut. Silver to Brian. Doug Myers says, hi, Dean, from Doug Myers in Rockford, Illinois. Doug, hello to you. Go to 80swrestlingcon.com, place an order, and you can get your own Dean Malenko signed 8x10 tonight. Next up, we got Justin Frazier in Blue Ridge Summit, Pennsylvania.
Hold on a second. Justin Frazier's a ring announcer for AEW.
Justin Frazier's a ring announcer? Yes, that's right. He was used to.
And where's he from?
Blue Ridge Summit, Pennsylvania.
That's a life from New York.
He's
from Illinois.
So he couldn't just come up to you backstage at work and say, hey, Dean, I got this picture.
Is he going to hear from me?
So to Justin Frazier, ring announcer extraordinaire, apparently. Just signature and man of 1,000 holds.
Justin, my working companion.
Brendan Daly says, nice, how much and how do I pay? You go to 80swrestlingcon.com. Everything there is listed for you. At 80swrestlingcon.com, get those orders in. Stores open until about 9:30. Have Dean Malenko with us till 10. Next up, we got Dennis Sinsali in Newton, New Jersey. Silver to Dennis.
I thought he said Dennis and Sally. This is like Jack and Diane.
There you go. Little ditty. Jonathan M. Jacobs, good evening, Dean. Good evening to you, Jonathan. If you have any memories, comments, questions about Mr. Malenko's career, please feel free to drop them. Brad Woods just put Iceman with double exclamation points. I'm assuming that might be his favorite nickname for you.
Ice cream man.
There you go. Now, did you come up with Iceman, or was that bestowed upon you?
I know Paulie was probably in charge of coming up with it. I know it was the shooter. Paulie came up with that.
No, it was because they said you looked like the Gracies, right? You looked like Royce Gracie.
Or the other Gracie. It was the actress. She was married to the guy from Monaco, right?
Yeah, that's Princess Gracie. Yeah,
That's really subtle.
I can't imagine anyone saying you looked like a princess. In fact, the Iceman, I remember being a great moniker for you because here in New Jersey there was the famous Iceman Richard Kuklinski, the mafia hitman, and,
that's nice.
and HBO would shoot a documentary about him, and they would just zoom in on his eyes. And I remember when you would walk to the ring on Monday Nitro, you just would walk with a purpose and stare into the camera, and you knew that it was time for business to be done. Was that something that you cognizantly did, where you're like, I'm just going to stare into the camera on my way out?
Not really. Just my gimmick was not having a gimmick. It was really different.
Which in turn wound up being a great gimmick because it was all business. Next up, we got David Rosenthal in Oceanside, New York, just signature, along with the Iceman and Man of 1,000 Holds. No one's gone for all the monikers yet. They're picking certain ones here and there, but I have a feeling it's probably going to be coming. Joshua Bork says the best in the world, loved his wrestling technique.
Of course he did.
Jonathan Jacobs says he wants to know if you have a favorite current WWE superstar. Now, I know you're working for AEW now, but is there anybody in WWE now that really catches your eye?
This little guy, Rey Mysterio. I'm a big fan of AJ Styles.
AJ Styles.
AJ's work.
Incredible.
I love natural.
There you go. Next up, we got David Caperkey. Looks like Caperkey in Grays Lake, Illinois. And silver, he wants it to Dave, Gavin, and Sean. So we got a little trifecta there. The Iceman. Emil Menard is joining us. Welcome back, Emil. We've missed you over the last couple of weeks. Make sure you stick around for that auction later. Emil will be defending his reigning auction championship. Kevin Olding says hi from the UK. Hello, Kevin. So here we are speaking of Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. Never looked so good.
Never looked so good, applying the Texas Cloverleaf. And this is for Mike Collins in Australia. He just wants to Mike. '80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. We got so many great signings coming up. Tonight we're with Dean Malenko till 10 p.m. Bill Pomerino is in the chat. He says, tell Dean Mo's son from ECW said hi.
Oh my gosh.
He should know who it is.
Mo's from The Simpsons, right? That's not her.
Yeah, but definitely one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. Well,
lovely lady that used to go to the ECW.
great stuff. Anthony D. Simone in New York, silver, just signature right there. '80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. Now the chat's moving very fast. Give me a second to catch up. Nav Deep Dalwill wants to know, did you like the outdoor events in WCW? I've heard a lot of different things from guys that wrestled on those outdoor events. What was your take on it?
Not really. It kind of loses the atmosphere of our business. I think so.
Yeah. Because the sound escapes. You can't really, especially when you would have Sturgis with how many thousands of bikers revving their engine.
WrestleMania was the cool, I guess, because of the pageantry, the fireworks, and all that stuff. You can't do it. So.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of
No, I could imagine, especially like we said Hog Wild with the motorcycles, and then WCW had the nightclub with the pool, Club La Villa.
That was fun.
Ryan Evans in Maryland, just signature and Man of 1,000 Holds. '80swrestlingcon.com, here with Dean Malenko till 10 p.m. Place those orders. Ralph Flemington, of course, is referencing Stinko Malenko, which was coined by the very funny and talented Mr. Chris Jericho. You guys had a very memorable feud back in WCW, I believe.
Still feud.
Still feud. Yeah, we were just on his podcast a couple weeks ago. Dennis Myers in Hagerstown, Maryland is up next. To Denny, the man of 1,000 holds.
Denny's, love your Grand Slam breakfast.
There you go. Little moons over my hammy. So how often were you eating at Denny's on the road, especially during those WCW days?
A lot.
I could imagine.
Anything that was open past like 2 o'clock in the morning.
There you go. It takes a lot of dedication. I remember when we had Ron Simmons a few months back, he would talk about Waffle House or IHOP and just getting the steaks. But I'm like, how do you go to Waffle House or IHOP and say no to the hash browns?
Scattered, smothered.
Exactly.
All those things.
Bill Dismaris in Warwick, Rhode Island is up next. Silver to Bill.
Would you marry me, Bill?
Next up, Sly Fitzenko, another 80s Wrestling Con regular.
Sounds like a wrestling name.
Yeah, right? It does. Sly Fitzenko.
Had to be a heel.
Yeah. It could almost be a tag team, Malenko and Fitzenko. That guy could see that rolling off.
Let's go with it.
There you go. AEW, maybe hiring. So there you go. To Sly, man of 1,000 holds in silver. Hunter Maddox is asking how it was working with Jushin Liger, and that always fascinated me too when they would show you guys, you know, working all these wrestlers from all over the country, the language barrier and talking over a match. How did you guys get around that?
Had those speed reading courses. No. Wrestling's international.
Yeah.
That was, to me, that was another big part of WCW. The cruiserweights, that we had guys like, you know, Fit Finlay from Ireland. We had Eddie Guerrero, and you had Negro Cassis, and you had a bunch of guys from the UK, and guys from Germany, and guys from Mexico, and Japan, and Calgary, and America. It's such a wide, vast of different styles and different people. And that's, to me, that's what made it really interesting. You know, you saw a guy like Rey Mysterio work against somebody like myself who's more of a wrestler on the mat, and he's more of a flyer. How's both of those guys going to complement each other? And we did.
And what's great about it too is, I mean, again, aside from you and Chris Jericho, and then there was some stuff with Ray and Eddie, I felt like it was all just left in the ring. There wasn't really much storyline aspect. It was just you guys were that good that the focus was the matches, and it got people tuned in.
Eric once said, "What I'm looking for is car crashes."
Okay.
You know, go out there and just have fun. You know, do what you guys do best.
Yeah.
And kind of let us have full reign of that.
And did you enjoy then getting to kind of flip it around a little bit when you worked with Chris Jericho and there were promos involved?
Oh, for sure. We were blessed with that.
Yeah, man of that. You were the perfect fodder, I feel, for that juvenile gimmick that
Well, it
he
was
had.
great for me because I got to go home for 3 months paid. And I got to, my first daughter was born. And my time spent, so it's expensive. My Chris is going to work every week.
Yeah.
And talking about me. So that part was.
It was a lot of fun, and I remember being in high school at the time, and there was the 1,004 holds.
You had to go there.
Oh, well, come on. I mean, you still look great, so. But me, not so much. I'm getting there. Next up, we got Chris Cooper in Roaring Spring, Pennsylvania. Emil Menard says, I was at the Slamboree in Worcester, Mass. You beat Jericho after the Battle Royal. My kids love to rewatch that match. You were always one of my favorite cruiserweights. So there you go from Emil Menard.
Signed Dean Malenko.
Next up, we're going back to the UK. A lot of international orders tonight, as we were talking about. Craig Southall wants just signature and the man of 1,000 holds.
For some reason.
80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. We're here with Dean Malenko till 10 o'clock. The store will be open till about 9:30. At around 9:45, we're going to be doing an auction of 2 pretty cool items, so stick around for that. So much we could talk about with Mr. Malenko, but we want your help. This is all about the fans. Keep those comments and questions coming in the chat. Ivan Santos wants to know, does Dean Malenko have any stories from WWC in Puerto Rico?
Not really. I didn't go down there that much. Just
Okay.
whenever I was down there, I thought.
There you go. Whenever he was down there, he had fun. That's
Fun in Puerto Rico.
Fun in Puerto Rico. How could you go wrong? Brendan Daly says the Cruiserweight division is what kept me watching WCW. Next up, we got Joe Migliori from Swanton, Ohio. I never knew. Swanton, Ohio. I never knew that was a town. There you go.
There's also Intercourse, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that I knew. That I knew. But Swanton, Ohio, I was not familiar with. Jeff Hardy, the mayor, maybe, of Swanton, Ohio. You never know. We have a mayor in our midst tonight, so you never know what could happen. Ryan Martinez wants to know, did you have fun working as Double Ho 7?
Double Ho 7. You know what? It gave me something to do.
There you go.
I broadened my horizons.
There you go. Michael Anderson in New Jersey. Just signature and the man of 1,000 holds. Yeah, I remember the Double Ho 7, and we actually have The Godfather next Monday. I don't know if that was coincidental, or if that was meant as like a little, yeah. Or if that was like a little double feature planned in advance. But we're looking forward to that next Monday with The Godfather. A lot of questions are coming in about your time in WWE, and one of the things that I always want to know, because that was such a monumental moment when the Radicals showed up on Monday Night Raw, and to me, from a fan's perspective, it was the first time that I could remember WWE getting one over on WCW. It was the WCW talents coming over. Did they know what they had? Like, did Vince McMahon or anybody from there say, oh, wow, I saw your match with Eddie Guerrero in ECW. I saw what you guys did in WCW. Or was it just kind of were taken from WCW?
No, because I actually had a conversation. I walked in right to a Holiday Inn in Pittsburgh about a year to the date that we all four started. And I was a little disenchanted at WCW at the time, so we ran into Vince. And Vince couldn't have a conversation with me. What he did say was, I'm a big fan of yours and Eddie's because we were the ones you guys in the lobby at the time. And so I thought that was kind of cool.
That is really cool.
So hopefully you watch our product or just made that up just to sound nice.
Yeah, well,
but whatever, but it was cool.
That is very, very cool. But I remember watching that live because Chris Benoit had just won the world title and vacated it, and I was like, wow, how does WCW come back from this? And in a lot of ways, they really did.
Yeah. I think that was the first time like 4 guys ever jumped ship at once.
Yeah. And I'll never forget the pop when you guys just came down, before you even got in the ring and did that whole thing with DX, just sitting down, all those fans had that, holy crap feel about them.
Something's going to happen.
Something big is going to happen indeed. Craig Wilbur in Windsor, Vermont. To Craig, man of 1,000 holds.
Wilbur.
Indeed. Ooh, this is a good question. It's actually from a buddy of mine, Joe Brown, down on the Jersey Shore. He goes, awesome stuff. Dean was one of my childhood favorites. Question for Dean. Is there a big celebrity that you looked up to that you got to meet thanks to wrestling? So was there ever anybody, it could be any type of celebrity, athlete, actor?
Carl Reiner.
Carl Reiner, there you go.
Like a lot of celebrities would come out to the Forum or the Staples Center in LA. And he came backstage one time with 2 kids. Big meathead fan.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I still watch those reruns of All in the Family from back in the day.
Of course you wouldn't be able to do that show today.
Oh, of course not. No. That's why I have a Fire Stick app that I just watch them. I don't even know if you can get them on any of these streaming services. Probably not. Probably not. Michael Overstreet in Tennessee. Silver to Michael. 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. Keep those questions and comments coming live on our Facebook chat. Don't forget to share this link. There's some old school wrestling fans, and especially from Mr. Malenko's era, because that was the era of wrestling, at least for me, when I was the kid who always loved wrestling. No one took it seriously. Then they would see the cruiserweights. They would see everything going on Monday nights, and then all of a sudden everyone was a wrestling fan. So I think that has a lot to say about what these guys did in the ring. They converted a lot of people. Next up, we got Anthony Crowley, silver to Anthony. Philip Garcia says, the Shooter, one of the best to lace up a pair of boots. I saw Dean wrestle many times when he was in WCW and as a horseman. Thank you, Dean, for the great memories, which will actually bring me back to a question that was asked several minutes ago that I missed. Do you have a favorite memory as a member of the Four Horsemen, something that stands out above yours?
Not really. I just spending time with Arn and Greg and those guys. It was a lot of fun.
I can imagine it being fun.
I never looked at it from a perspective of, we're going to try to make a different run at it. To me, there was only one group, and that was the original group.
I think also, though, coming up in the business, being a second-generation wrestler, you probably look at that differently than as opposed to a regular fan who would become a wrestler. You know, I mean, for you, you always knew it was all business.
Well, we went out to pasture pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's for sure. I don't even think it lasted a year.
Well, there was also that, I remember when they brought him back, there was that Ric Flair, Eric Bischoff controversy, and you guys were in the tuxes at Nitro. And
Greenville something.
yeah, that was a special night as well. Next up, we got Jordan Jarvis in Canada, and it's silver to Shep. I guess it's a gift for somebody. So that person's name is Shep. So there you go, Shep. You're getting your Dean Malenko.
Is it Shemp?
There you go. Bo Oliver says, Dean, my man, one of my top 5. Rose Krause says, looking good, Dean. Well, don't forget, Rose.
Married.
He's also the stud.
I'm married.
He's married, but, well, she can look.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the Bella's theme? You can look, but you can't touch. There you go, Rose. Next up, Dennis Grinnell, another longtime friend of 80s Wrestling Con. To Dennis, man of 1,000 holds. Bo Oliver says, one of the best in-ring wrestling performing anything. You put him in a ring, I guess he meant you put him in a ring, he is the best. There you go. I'll edit some of your comments for you as I read them aloud. Do you remember when you were told you were going to be a member of the Horsemen? Who broke that news to you? Was it Flair himself or Arn? Or?
I'm not really sure. I think me and Chris actually tried to get Rick and Arn on board with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we wanted to try to do something for Arn. But no one last,
Yeah.
last run.
That is awesome. Rich Pinter in Garfield, New Jersey, not too far from here. Silver to Rich, man of 1,000 holds. So far from what I'm seeing from these orders, man of 1,000 holds might be the favorite moniker. And, well, I think I became most familiar with you and the various monikers because Mike Tenay, walking wrestling encyclopedia.
That's the guy I need to talk to. Mike Tenay.
Mike Tenay knew everything.
Yes, he did.
Alfie Weatherstone in the United Kingdom to
What's
Alfie.
it all about, Alfie?
What's that?
What's it all about, Alfie?
There you go. Dropping all the pop culture lines tonight. He really is the man of 1,001 lines. Bobby was not lying.
So we're in the scope in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Not Richmond, Virginia. Somewhere in Virginia, the scope.
Norfolk, right?
Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
There you go. More Virginians for 200. And, Rick introduced me to the audience and on live TV. This is the man of 1,000 positions. try to call home and correct that one.
There you go.
That was scary.
Yeah, I can imagine, you know.
It's one position, 990 different ways.
But is there a little bit of added pressure from the missus at home when she finds out that you're on the road with Ric Flair? I mean, even if she was out of the business, there has to be some like, I'm a little nervous about this.
Probably, well, not probably. I've known Rick since I was 10 years old.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
Of course, he was 40 when I was 10.
Next up, we got Scott Hardgrove in Hurst, Texas. Silver to Scotty. Scotty. Kathy Fitzpatrick says, hi, Dean. How you doing, Kathy? Haven't seen you in quite a while. Good to see you. Ooh, good question from Jeremiah Skalecki, because we were talking a little bit about AEW off camera.
He's a good friend of mine.
Oh, okay. Who do you think in AEW right now closely resembles you in the ring? Is there anybody that reminds you of a young Dean Malenko?
Let's get away from the guys for a second. I'm going to say Dean, what's your first name?
Serena Deeb.
Actually just took over my moniker, and she's now the woman.
Okay. There you go.
She's very good, very talented.
Very talented, and I think the women's wrestling revolution, as it's been dubbed over the years, is just continuing to grow. And now we're starting to see, you know, all these women. And it blows my mind because I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, Beth Phoenix went into the Hall of Fame, and I remember watching back. They did a documentary on her, and I'm like, wow, half the top stars that are there now saw her and said, why can't we all be like that? So again, much like you, Eddie, and the two Chris's changed the game. People like Beth Phoenix really changed it for all the ladies coming up now. Next up, we got Stetson Holden. Now that's a worker name.
That's a very Western.
Yeah. I worked in Amarillo with the Funks. Stetson Holden in North Carolina, but it's too Kenny, so it's not too Stetson. It's too Kenny.
Okay. That's too funny.
Jeremiah Johnson says, what makes Dean Malenko laugh? Is there a comedy, a specific
feather. Really long and soft.
There you go. A favorite joke, anything? I have to know. He wants to know what specifically. What is your style of humor? I'm guessing if you're a Carl Reiner fan, you like that old school.
Just off of anybody.
There you go.
Just whatever the moment is.
There you go. Jason Jones in Mount Gay, West Virginia.
I'm not going there.
Nope, I'm not visiting either. Just signature man of 1,000 holes.
What's this guy's name?
There you
Double
go.
J.
Double J. James Williams, I think this question was already answered a little bit ago when you're asking what lightweight, I don't know if we would call any of the wrestlers lightweights, but what lightweight currently in WWE do you wish you could have worked with? AJ Styles, I think you said you would have loved to have had a match with.
AJ, and big fan of Darby's. A lot of these guys.
Yep.
Really good.
Cliff Rollins in Rockaway, New Jersey, to Cliff in silver.
I pushed him once.
80swrestlingcon.com. Share this link on your Facebook feed. Let people come on out and see what's going on. We got Dean Malenko here till 10 p.m. Next up, we got Fernando Bori in Voorhees, New Jersey. Silver, 4-time cruiserweight champ, man of 1,000 holds. @80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Hello to everyone watching on WrestleZone. Once again, if you're on Facebook, share the link out to your feed. I'm seeing a lot of you are tagging your friends in the chat. That's very cool to see. All right, Fernando Bori in Voorhees, New Jersey is up next. We got silver to Fernando, 4-time cruiserweight champ, the Iceman. So that's quite the novel there.
Wasn't this just the same one? Wasn't that Fernando too?
Yeah, he might have gotten multiple. A lot of people are big Dean Malenko fans. They want the multiple poses. They're buying all of them up. Go to 80swrestlingcon.com. You can select your photo there. Now, I've heard about this quite a bit over the years. You hear different things, and I never really gave much thought to it, but Kent Graham is asking, which did you prefer more, the WCW ring ropes or the WWE ropes? Was there a difference?
For me, I didn't do a whole lot of stuff off the ropes, so to me, the ropes were just there to hold the ring up.
There you go.
WCW only because I like the wire.
Uh-huh.
As opposed to the ropes sometimes, a little bit more difficult.
A little bit more rough, right?
But you had more of a platform from me.
Okay.
Definitely. So there was a size difference. Size doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, that's what, and that we've always heard that too, that there was a big difference. That's what they always said when Booker T and Buff had that match on Raw. That how much bigger was the WWE ring in comparison? Do you remember?
I want to say WCW was 16 foot and WWE was 20 foot.
Wow, so it's a significant difference.
Yeah.
Definitely. Scott Racer in Winchester, Virginia is up next. Silver to Scott. Bill Dismaris is bringing up a great point that we were going to get to at some point, I'm sure, and we're actually going to be auctioning it off later on in our live auction. He says, I remember Mr. Malenko was ranked #1 in the 1997 PWI 500, and I actually read something this past weekend that you were the only wrestler that was #1 that had not been a world champion, which I think, sorry about that, which I think is a testament to your ability too, because I remember the PWI had always gone with like a Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels. They took the champion from either promotion and made him #1. Was that special for you to get that ranking #1 in the PWI 500?
Yeah, but we were just talking about him earlier.
Bill Apter?
Bill Apter. When he called me and told me about it, he kind of said, not so many words, that it's kind of like not one of the better years.
Wow.
Yeah, one of those things. It was like a backhanded compliment.
Wow, Bill Apter said that to you, huh?
Yeah. I've loved Bill ever since. He's very heartwarming.
I can imagine. That's
Yeah.
that's the first time I ever heard of Bill Apter, because usually, if anything, when I've watched Bill, and I love you, Bill, okay, if you see this, when I've watched him interview some guys, if anything, he kind of maybe puts them over a little more than what they were known for.
That's putting me over.
Yeah, well, I mean, you deserved to be the #1 wrestler in the world because, like I said, you were changing the way the industry worked. And to think that you'd only left ECW In when? 95, early 95, late 94?
End of 95, beginning of 96.
Yeah, so you legitimately had, what, a year and a half in WCW, and you impressed people that much?
Well, I had like 2 careers because I spent 14 years, the first 14 years in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came over here as like a home career.
Did you live full-time in Japan for those 14 years, or
back
did you go back and forth?
For 4 different companies.
There you go. Mark Harding in the United Kingdom, silver to Mark. Yeah, I'm always fascinated by the guys that go back and forth, especially when, it's an American wrestler is going back and forth to Japan, making a name over there.
Japan was always a great place to work because of the language barrier. You kind of had to go to the old school of feeling the guy out and his chemistry and body language. And, that's true. You got guys from Mexico and Europe, so many different styles. We used to call it like a Heinz 57.
Yeah.
So many different styles and so many different flavors. That's kind of, you take all that and kind of come up with your own style. That's kind of what I do.
Now, did you ever have opponents in Japan that when they came over to WCW that you had to adjust, or did you pretty much kind of do the same style of match that you would have had with them over in Japan or Mexico?
Kind of the same style, but a little bit of adjustment because TV is totally different. Over here, it's more time restricted. Where over there, if you're going for 5, 10, 15 minutes, they just they televise or they shoot the show. There's not, promos here, promos there, something in the bag. It's pretty much a straightforward shoot.
It's a wrestling
Yeah,
show.
it's wrestling.
Yeah.
How did that work?
I know. Funny how that happens sometimes. Next up, Van Robbins in San Antonio, Texas. To Van, I am the man of 1,000 holds. Ryan Martinez wants to know, what was your favorite memory from Tampa working with your dad?
I wrestled my dad one time too much.
Wow.
He stepped on my foot or something. I was trying to do something, I can't remember what it was. Ended up blowing my knee out. And then, somehow I had a patella got disconnected from the rest of my body.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was the last time I worked with my dad. I never did that to punish me or what.
Now, did you grow up your whole life knowing you were going to follow in his footsteps, or was it something that came later?
Just something that came later.
And was he encouraging, or did he try to talk you out of it? Or?
Not really. Well, to be honest with you, he died when he was 61.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he never got to see me work for ECW, WCW, WWE, and anything after, Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He thought that was really cool.
I can imagine. I remember watching a while back, but it was very touching. It was actually Sean Waltman, X-Pac, was doing a shoot interview. And I mean, the way he spoke of your father, and I think he was actually even saying that when your father did pass, that he demanded time off to go pay his respects. And, I'm watching that, not remembering, or actually, as I should say, remembering the matches that you had with him in WCW. And it's just so cool to me to see, here is the son and the trainee, and now here they are getting to highlight a pay-per-view.
Well, my dad had a big influence on a lot of guys, from Kane to Mark Starr, and, Chris Champion, was along with Al Perez, of course Sean Waltman, Buddy Landell was another guy.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that had a big influence on the
Yeah, no, that's cool to go back, because you could watch it as a fan and not know all that information, and then go back and find that out. That's really something special to see. Next up, we have Aaron Karpinka in Canada, 2AK. See, I like that. He shortened it. He's like, I got a little bit of a long name. We're just going to make it AK, make it simple. People know who I am. Jim Baez says, did Dean ever want to be a member of the NWO?
Nah, not really.
No? Not your cup of tea?
Not my cup of tea.
Next up, good luck with this one, pronouncing this, Dionysios Renesis from Australia. Dionysios Renesis.
Something. Good sauce.
It was? Was I close? All right, silver, just signature. Hello, Dionysus.
So I'm going to take this.
Now I know what to name my child if I ever have one.
Yeah, not DRA. That's your drug.
Kyle James says, the greatest cruiserweight of all time. Bo Oliver says, the match with X-Pac when Eddie came out to grab the belt from him. What a great match in WCW. Chris Quinn says, inscriptions allowed or no? Yep, just place your order at 80swrestlingcon.com. we ask that you keep it kind of simple, nothing too wild or crazy. Kyle James says, welcome back, y'all. I missed y'all. We miss you all as well.
You all.
There you go.
You all.
Next up, Darrow Trice in Jersey City, New Jersey, silver, 2 Surge and K1W. Well, Oliver, I think that belt is the best next to the big gold. If you're discussing the WCW United States Championship, I couldn't help but agree. Definitely a very good-looking championship. Jeremiah Skalecki wants to know, were there any cool ribs or jokes that you played on someone or that someone has played on you? I'm guessing that you're trying to see which ones we can talk about on air.
Just first one just comes to mind. When you go to Japan, you spend a lot of time with the guys on your bus. Because to your point, language barrier. I was on tour with Davey Boy Smith.
Oh boy!
And he had these silver knobs on the hotel doors.
Mm-hmm.
So he put Vaseline on them, and the more you wipe the Vaseline on them, the slicker the door got. So nobody could open the door and get in the room. It was a hell of a time trying to tell the Japanese guys in the lobby, there's KY jelly on her door. And you could hear Davey in his room just laughing. He's the only guy that got to his room the entire night because nobody could get to the room.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that is
pretty funny.
Yeah, I always hear that the names that always come to mind with the ribs are, of course, Owen, Davey Boy, and Mr. Perfect. Everybody always has.
It wasn't my rib, but Abdul the Butcher's was always, I don't know if he still is, but very claustrophobic in small rooms in Japan.
Okay.
Hotel rooms are very small.
Uh-huh.
They had a hard time getting in the tub or sitting down. So Dynamite knew about that.
Okay.
So whenever he would leave the door open, let a crack open, so it kind of would help him with claustrophobic. And he'd sit down. As soon as he sit down, you could hear Dynamite going down the corridor, and he'd grab the door and pull it shut. And you hear Abdullah cussing because he had to get up out of the chair and go back and do it again. This just went on and on and on through the night. I don't know how many times he got out of the chair. They're very little and minute things, but they're just funny.
They're absolutely hilarious, and it's a great way to pass the time. Tom Twist in New York.
Tom Twist, that's a worker.
There you go. Just Signature and WCW.
Let's twist again like we did last summer.
Just Signature and WCW US Champ. Want this now?
Yeah, so.
Oh, okay. All right, to Chris, the man of 1,000 holds, and then after that, we're going to be switching over to blue. Justin Frazier, do you have PWI 97 for sale or just auctioning one at the end? We're going to be auctioning one at the end, Justin. The opening bid on that's going to be $100. So we're going to be doing that around 9:40, 9:45, I believe. So make sure you come back for that. Someone has to defeat Emil Menard. So I root for Emil. He's our defending champion, but it's nice to mix it up every once in a while. So now we're going to switch over to blue for this stack of photos. Here we have to Kent. It's Kent Graham in Tennessee. To Kent, the Iceman. Man of 1,000 holds. '80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Check out the upcoming signings that we have. Next Monday, we're here with the Godfather, a.k.a. Papa Shango, a.k.a. Kama Mustafa. So that's going to be next Monday night. And then 3 weeks from tonight, we will have Mark Merrow. Also, we have on August 22nd, the all-day virtual Mania event. That's going to be a big one. All day long, we're going to have Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown, the Headbangers, Billy Gunn. So make sure you check us out for that. '80swrestlingcon.com for more information. Next up, this is just a blue, just Signature, and WCW US Champ. Next up, Annie Spivey in Marion, South Carolina.
Danny Spivey.
Yeah, every time, because it's not really a common last name, I don't think, but every time Annie orders, we always have to make reference to the great Dan Spivey, Dangerous Dan. Oh, yeah? Yeah, I'm seeing he's doing a lot more interviews and stuff lately, and he's a very entertaining guy, so I always like hearing his input on stuff.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Rich Melber in Dumont, New Jersey. To Rich, the Iceman. Jason Jones wants to know, what was your first match like?
First match. I wrestled an older guy named Ron Hill in Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
That's all I remember.
That's all you remember?
Yeah, that's all I remember.
You don't know if it was good or bad or?
Or indifferent.
There you go.
Probably it was terrible. Should have been terrible.
Do you feel guys, especially because you said it was an older guy, but maybe later on throughout your career, were they tougher on you because you were the son of Boris Malenko?
The first 2 or 3 years, when actually I was in Japan, I used another name. I didn't use Malenko. I didn't want, not that I didn't want anybody to know that my dad was in the business. I wanted to try to become my own married. Well, we didn't have social media back then.
No,
so if you had that now, you could never do that.
Yeah, you could never get away with that now. And then somebody would be like, oh, that looks a lot like Boris Malenko's kid.
Yeah. It's a spitting image.
There you go.
And it's Grace Kelly. It looks like Grace.
Gavin Gray in Alexander, Arkansas. Blue to Gavin Gray. Ryan Martinez is crushing it with the questions tonight, and this is another good one.
Yeah, Martinez good.
As a booker slash agent, if CM Punk and Daniel Bryan both sign with AEW, who should their first opponents be? Putting you on the spot there, right?
I don't know. I mean, there's so many talented guys in the roster.
Maybe you can clarify this for me as well as all the fans, because I feel like that role of agent or producer, because the fans don't get to see it in action, there's a lot of confusion to actually what the role is. From my understanding of, at the house shows, you guys are in charge, you're the office present at the show, but what exactly does happen? They give you a match. Now, do you go and tell these guys this is the finish, or do you just stand by and watch them discuss it? How does it actually work?
Most guys, you just help. You're like a player coach type of deal. Guys may run their match by you, may tell them why you did this or this, or why don't you try this? Kind of give them a blueprint of what's supposed to happen or what should happen. You're just there to help the guys. I'm not there to say you have to do this, this, and this. Everybody's different. I can't think for somebody or put them in a position. I just form my opinion. They just take it to them.
Now, are there different approaches with that when it's a house show versus TV versus a pay-per-view, or is it always kind of the same approach?
Kind of the same approach. If it's a house show or a non-televised show, which we don't do anymore, it's more orders from the head guy that you're the middleman there that night. This is what this guy wants done. This here, whatever. You get your marching orders.
And is it similar to being a wrestler in the sense that when you get the job as an agent or producer, are there older agents or producers that take you under their wing and say, hey, this is kind of how we do things? Is it Tony Gurria or somebody come by?
To a certain extent.
Okay.
Pat Patterson and Jack Lanza were the two guys that really, went to Vince and kind of pushed me as, you might want to think about using Dean after his career. He's got to get in mind for the business, understands it, guys respect him, which is the number one thing you have to have. If you don't have the talents respect,
it's not going to work.
Very difficult job.
Yeah. I think it takes a special kind of, almost like in stand-up comedy, we call it a comic's comic. I think it takes a wrestler's wrestler to be in that position, because they...
Yeah, I mean, it's like coaching. It's just because you were a great ball player, a great quarterback, or a great first baseman doesn't necessarily mean you can be a great coach. There's a lot of really good coaches that were really good in their sport, but they're just really good with their mind. And the same thing in wrestling.
Now, is there a big difference between being a producer in AEW than there was in WWE? Because the talent has, at least from my understanding, I'm not there, more freedom, more ways to be creative in the ring and express themselves. Does that make your job easier as a producer?
Yeah, a little bit, for sure. For sure. And it gets guys thinking on their own as opposed to someone else is thinking for them.
Yeah.
That helps.
No, it's definitely fascinating, and thank you for all that, because I feel like that is the most misunderstood job in professional wrestling.
Well, thank you, because I didn't know what the hell I did for the last 20 years. Just told me what I did.
I'm glad I walked you through it. See, I'm
Thank
here.
God.
Hey, Tony Khan, I'm available. Call
I
me.
know what I do.
Call me, Tony. Anyway, next up, Matt Stevens in Taylor's, South Carolina, to Matt. We're having a lot of fun with Dean Malenko, the shooter, the Iceman, the man of 1,000 holds, the man of 1,000 lines, or one-liners, as I believe it was discussed off camera. We found that he's a Jersey guy at heart, even though he doesn't like to admit it too much. Next up, we got Josh Greenblatt in Iowa, and this one's to Josh and Alyssa, man of 1,000 holds. Kathy Hummer says, one of the best. Yes, indeed. A lot of fans echoing the same sentiments that Dean Malenko is one of their favorite wrestlers. And he's also been responsible for a lot of the great stuff you've seen in wrestling over the last 20 years or so as a backstage agent. Don't blame him, he says. There you go. Next up, another one for Dionysos Renesis in Australia. But this one you actually have to write it out too, Dionysos. And I apologize if you are watching. If you want me to pronounce your name correctly, please shoot me a message. Put it phonetically, because I'm a little behind the 8 ball on that one. Michael Johnson, I'm a big fan of you, Dean, since WCW.
Michael Jackson?
I don't think it's the Michael Johnson from the what is that, PW Inside? I don't think it's him.
Right.
I think it's a different Michael Johnson. Next up, Navi Singe, Temecula, California, blue to Navi. George Palmerino says, it's actually a question, he's not saying. He said, Dean's thoughts on teaming with his brother Joe versus Public Enemy in ECW.
That's a weird combination, just thinking about it.
Yeah, it really is.
Anytime my brother got together, we had fun.
Yeah. He retired pretty early on, right? Yeah. In the mid-90s, I believe?
We were working for Papa's company, which was All Japan at the time.
Okay. Yeah, Public Enemy was definitely an interesting tag team, to say the least. I got to meet those guys a little bit on the Jersey Indies. They were working quite a bit, but definitely pioneers in ECW. This one is Ron Jones in Canada, and he wants the Shooter and Dean Malenko in blue. A lot of great compliments coming in. I love when I see people take the time to actually spell out why they feel the way that they do. Jeremy Luckhart says, Dean Malenko is one of the 3 reasons why I wanted to become a wrestler. His transitions and the ring general that he is undeniable, just like Fit Finley. Loved your work. Well, you named 2 of the reasons, Dean Malenko and Fit Finley. Who's number 3?
Yeah.
Now we got to know.
I'll never sleep tonight.
Next up, William Cloninger in Simpsonville, South Carolina.
William, better known as Bill.
There you go. The 80swrestlingcon.com. So many great signings coming up. We will be here next week with The Godfather, Papa Shango, Kama Mustafa, Man of 1,000 Gimmicks. But tonight we got the Man of 1,000 Holds.
He's got holds.
You got the holds, he's got the
hose with holes.
There we go. And of course, double hose 7. Was that an uncomfortable? Of course, they wound up in WWE. You did the angle with Lita where you were trying to go after. Were you uncomfortable transitioning from being just the ring general to having to be a character? Because you are a very funny, personable guy, so I can't imagine it being different.
We had a lot of fun doing that.
Okay.
Matt and Jeff were involved. Of course, Lita. Give me a chance to do something different that I've never done before. So,
Yeah, and you pulled it off. You pulled it off. I just remember that it was almost this thing that WWE seemed to have. They did it with you a little bit. They did it with Lance Storm. It was almost like let's try to bring out personality, but I don't feel that was necessary because you are a funny guy. They just had to give you that opportunity.
Yeah, I've heard that my whole life, my whole career, basically. If you were to transcend what the person you are on the back and to the crowd, but I'm not that kind of. It's not that kind of humor.
Uh-huh.
I just play off of just conversation, like having a bar, or just sitting in the car, or whatever. It's like, okay, time to be funny.
Exactly.
I just can't be funny. Just snap your fingers and be funny.
No, and there are certain guys, but like I always watched that we had Val Venus a few weeks ago, and he was talking.
He's fun.
And he was talking about Eddie Guerrero, and it's like when you watch the WCW Eddie Guerrero, again, it was all business wrestling, but then when they let him really just open up, be Latino heat, the stuff with China, it brought out a whole other side.
Oh, for sure.
Brought out a whole other side. And we're going to be moving over to the red marker now. I can take that blue from you if you want. This is James Stanton in New York. Red to James. Going back to the chat here, checking it out. Oh, Jeremy Luckhart gave us our third person is his third person is Bret the Hitman Hart. So you're in very good company there.
Yeah.
Dean Malenko, Fit Finley, and Bret the Hitman Hart are the three reasons he decided.
If you want to read something really interesting, get Bret's book.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the part where we had a match with me, and then I hurt him, and he lost respect for me.
Oh, that part I don't remember.
Yeah, but no one ever remembers that. I maliciously went out and tried to rip his groin apart. Supposedly.
And this was in WCW, I'm
This is in
assuming.
WCW.
Wow. Wow.
Because I only had one match with him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've never met Bret, but from what I've gathered, he's got a lot of anger towards people for various reasons. So
I don't target groins. I try to stay away from groins.
no, he's the stud. They target his.
Correct.
Never forget that. All right. Next up, we got Tom Johns in Woodland
I
Park,
thought it was going to be Tom Jones.
New Jersey.
It's not.
It's not unusual. Mitch Seinfeld. Ooh, this is something that I don't remember.
Seinfeld.
There you go.
Love that man.
Dean and Ted Petty, Komodo Dragons for
yeah.
Paul Heyman before ECW. I don't remember that. You and Ted Petty, Rocco Rock, were the...
We were in Dallas, and I think Pat Tanaka and Tom Borg,
Okay.
who was Paul Diamond, who was a student of ours. Somebody didn't show up. Paul asked me if I would wear the mask and work with Teddy. This is one and only time I wore a mask.
Wow.
Komodo Dragons. That's right.
So there you go. Come on.
But that was also the beginning of my ECW run, because that's my first conversation with Paul, who said, would you be interested in coming up to Philly? And that's how things got started.
Do you have any outrageous Paul Heyman stories? Because I know, Chris Jericho always tells the story about the bereavement airfares, say you're this guy's name, or do you have any crazy outlandish? Because it seems like a lot of people, they tell the story, and at the time it was something that really pissed them off, but now they just look at it fondly when they look back.
Paul was one of those guys that had a great mind for the business, you know, always thinking, always coming up with different things. And he'd piss you off, and you're like, man, when I get in front of him, I'm gonna give him everything I got, and then you walk away with, damn it, he got me again. You know, he was that good at it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for Paul.
Yeah, and you hear that about Vince a lot as well, too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Next up, we got Hank Shallow in Vermont, just signature plus WWF Cruiserweight champ. Troy Walton says, Dean, one of the best. A lot of people echoing the same sentiments that you are a reason they started either loving wrestling again or got introduced to it. 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. Next up, we got Jeff Kubasak in Staten Island, New York. Man of 1,000 holes in red. You can take a break, get some water if you want. I can keep talking. 80swrestlingcon.com. We're here with Dean Malenko till 10 p.m. Next week, we're here with The Godfather. A few weeks from tonight, we're here with Mark Merrow. We got Virtual Mania coming up on Sunday, August 22nd. That's going to be an all-day event. We're going to be here with the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, as well as Badass Billy Gunn. And we're also going to be here with D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry. That's on Sunday, August 22nd. It's the Virtual Mania all-day signing. Virtual Mania 2. Of course, we had Virtual Mania 1 a few months back. Next up, we got Jumpin' Jay. He's the host of 80s Wrestling, the podcast. In red to Jay. Jumpin' Jay.
Another JJ.
What's that?
Another JJ.
There you go. Another double J. And we actually have JJ Dillon and Barry Windham here together, I believe, on Monday, September 11th is the date for that. So you can actually place your orders now for any of those signings. Also, you can find out how you can send your memorabilia to us to have the talent sign it, and we'll ship it back to you. We have a lot of Dean Malenko action figures coming up. We have some custom paintings, it looks like, as well. That's always my favorite part of these signings, when people send their memorabilia in to be signed. Bob Fenelander in New Jersey, signature and WWF 2000. Alfie Weatherstone, I believe he bought a picture earlier. Dean makes everything in the ring look so smooth and crisp while keeping the real fight feel, something that is very rare.
Mistake.
Ooh, Jeremy Luckhart says his favorite match to study is you, that's Dean, and your brother versus the British Bulldogs in Japan.
1988.
Wow, you even remember the year.
Tag match of the year.
I'm going to have to look that up.
You know,
That's something I definitely...
that's probably the only thing I know. I can't remember what my wedding anniversary is, but I remember the tag titles, tag something.
Do you know when you're in a match like that, and I can only imagine, I mean, you're in there with the caliber of talent, like the Bulldogs, and you and your brother, while it's going on, do you say to yourself, like, holy shit, this is great. Like, I know this is going to be
I've done it a couple times.
Yeah?
You know, guys like Ray or Jericho or, numerous occasions. So you know you got them to. This would be like a comic.
Yeah.
You're cooking and they're laughing at everything you say.
Yeah.
I got them tonight.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a great feeling.
That's so cool. Next up, Terry Mathis in Brooklyn. The Iceman, man of 1,000 holds in red. So now I have two things I need to look up. The Komodo dragons, which there probably might not be footage of if that was a one-time deal.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Somebody out there might have it. So
there would be a picture though, because I did see a picture later on.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're going to look for the Komodo dragons.
Who is that mask?
And I'm going to look for the Malenko brothers versus the British Bulldogs in 1988 in Japan. Next up, Terrence Skog in Norway, Michigan. To Terry in red. 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. Don't forget about our live auction at 9:45 p.m. We have a wrestling boot that's going to be signed by Dean Malenko. We also have the PWI 500 from 1997, where Dean was ranked the #1 professional wrestler in the world.
Out of 3 people.
And Bill Apter reminded him that it was a light year. It was a light year. I can't wait the next time I talk to Bill Apter to remind him of that. That's hysterical. Dan Mercer.
He'll deny it.
He'll deny it. Dan Mercero in Canada. Red to Dan, man of 1,000 holds. Daniel Ailman says, Dean looks like he can go again. So there you go.
Into the bathroom.
Oh, I like this one. This is Chris Curtis in Moscow, Idaho, which is probably the coldest section of Idaho. And he has two Chris, hold number 619, which I think he might be referencing the infamous Chris Jericho promo of the Man of 1,004.
Oh, it's also Ray's move, the 619.
Oh, the 619. All right. There you go. There you go. All right. But that was one of my favorite promos of all time. And they came back from commercial.
I like when people go, what's your favorite hold? I go 626. And what's the counter? 419.
That was one of my favorite promos of all time. Armbar. Moss-covered three-handled family Gradunzel.
Think about it. That was 25 years ago, and you're still talking about it.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I also feel, though, a lot of that has to do with the whole thing of less is more. When I was a kid, even before the Attitude Era, there was only a couple pay-per-views a year. If you wanted to see two main roster guys wrestle, you had to go to the house show or watch the pay-per-view. Then, during that era, we got spoiled. And then it just blew up. So now instead of just Mike Nitro and Raw, we had SmackDown and Thunder. Now you have the AEW shows. I mean, there's just so much going on that I think even if it's great, it's hard to remember it. It doesn't stand out as much because it's just constant.
I see that.
You know?
I actually pitched an idea years ago that I had Alzheimer's, and I kept forgetting my holds. I'm like, man of 1,000, man of 618, man of 320. And I got down like to one hold, and I lost the match, and my career was over.
Oh, was you thinking about going out on that? Like that was going to be? Well, back then they might have went with that, but now with all the concussion stuff and CT, they'll never do that. Emil Menard, he wants pink, so we're moving to pink for this one.
I knew Pink was coming sooner or later.
There you go.
Big fan of Pink.
There you go.
She's got a good voice.
She's amazing. Great songwriter as well.
Well, it's gonna go with Ray's Pete. Was it?
I guess you could just do it anywhere maybe on one of the dark sections. Just scrolling up through the comments, bear with me, trying to do a little bit of catching up. Tyrell Grimes says Dean Malenko versus Sid Vicious would be great. I don't know where that came from. It was not really.
It actually happened once, not for long. And there's another guy that said I intentionally tried to hurt him because I had to get my patented drop to hold in, which I've never done a drop to hold ever.
Wow. Now, where do you hear, because Sid hasn't written a book, was that just like an interview and then?
It's in the back of matches.
Okay.
It was out there somewhere, so he showed me.
Does that go on a lot when a shoot interview comes out, the guys call each other up and go, "Hey, you're never gonna guess who just like." Does a lot of that still go on years later, or no?
I just find it funny.
Yeah.
If it's true or not, who knows?
From what I've been told by other wrestlers, a lot of it is they'll actually go and confront the person that said such and such, and the person will go, "Oh, I was just working you. I was just."
I don't have time to go knock on people's doors.
Yeah, well, because you're still
Excuse
working.
me, I don't want to lose my job.
There you go. Brian Mantis, not far from me in Forked River, New Jersey. Pink the Iceman.
Pink the Iceman.
There you go.
That sounds fun.
There you go. Pink that. That'll be the next gimmick. 80swrestlingcon.com. So many great signings coming up. Next week, we're back with The Godfather, a.k.a. Papa Shango, a.k.a. Kama Mustafa. So come on out for that. 80swrestlingcon.com. Place your orders. Find out how you can send in your memorabilia for all the upcoming signings in the future. This is actually a special one. This is for our 80s Wrestling Con catering manager, Ian Levy. He's on vacation this week.
Does catering?
Yeah, he does the catering. So, I don't know, though. He may be fired because this week we got fried chicken instead of pizza. It was a nice change. So, I think Ian's going to have to mix things up a little bit if he wants to keep that title.
Man of one pizza.
There you go. I don't have any control in the office here at 80s Wrestling Con, but if I am allowed to make suggestions.
Drop in the box.
Next up, Mike O'Brien, Staten Island, just signature plus the Iceman. We're having a lot of fun with Dean Malenko, a lot of laughs, talking about many great moments from his career, and his career is still going. Right now, he is a senior producer for All Elite Wrestling.
I love the senior part too.
Well, it gives it a little more substance, I feel.
Age.
Yeah, well, you can look at it that way. I could look at it as out of all the producers, you're the guy.
And he's the oldest one.
The oldest one.
You get 20% off at Wendy's too.
Nice. Scott Newbert in Fair Lawn, New Jersey.
Fair Lawn.
Just signature and WCW Wrestling. 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. Still got plenty of time left with Dean Malenko. We're going to have that live auction a little later on. Pretty soon we're going to be moving on to the memorabilia that was sent in by fans as well. Looking forward to that.
Probably find my car keys maybe soon. There's my car keys.
Next up, Leslie Duraco in New York. Pink, just signature, WCW Cruiserweight Champ. If you have any more questions or comments, keep them rolling in. There's a lot of comments that reminded me things that I was not privy to. I'm going to have to definitely look up that British Bulldogs Malenko Brothers match later on tonight. Yeah, if you could just get me another stack of photos, we're
Stack.
Yeah, give me a couple at a time. Works. What color we got there, my friend?
Gold.
Gold. Look at that. I believe that's this one. Actually, this is bronze. Excuse me. I'd be a terrible Olympian.
Did you hear about the guy at the Olympics won a gold medal? Took it home and had bronze.
There you go. Yeah, I went for bronze right off the bat. So, another one for Jumpin' Jay, 2J
Jumpin' Jay.
in gold. Nick Paris, the man of 1,000 holds. Dean, you were one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. There you go. Of all time. Out of many, many thousands of wrestlers, you are his number one.
Frank Gott, Hans Schmidt, Tarzan,
Stan Lazavisco. We got a whole lot. A whole line.
Moses.
George Shelley in Tennessee, just signature and man of 1,000 holds. Before the pandemic hit, in the past, had you done a lot of in-person conventions or?
Not really.
Probably tough to do when you were on the road working, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Your schedule seems like it's a little more open now with AEW, right? There's not as much of that grind as there was.
Not killing the guys.
Yeah.
The guys are joining the business and reaping the benefits of what they do.
That's awesome. Next up, Andy Olinsky in Mount Prospect, Illinois. Gold to Andy for Horsemen. Terry Skog says, truly one of the best in the business. Geza Kalman. Dean broke me into the business back in '94.
Gosh.
Thanks for the tutelage.
Geza. Yeah, kid from Canada.
Geza from Canada. That's always got to be something special, too, when you get these...
I've been looking for that guy.
You have been looking
Yeah,
for...
it was his last payment.
Geza, you owe him money. So hit him up. You go through 80s Wrestling Con, talk to Tommy Fierro. He could be the middleman. Next up, we have Nick Knack in New Jersey.
Nick Knack.
Nick Knack Paddywhack.
Give that daughter.
Just signature, and then whatever it says at the bottom there, I missed it. Bob Love says, looking forward to Virtual Mania 2, indeed, on Sunday, August 22nd. Great lineup of guys. Got Billy Gunn. I almost called them the Head Thrashers. The Head Bangers, Mosh and Thrasher. D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry as well. That's Sunday, August 22nd. It's going to be an all-day event. We're looking forward to that. 80swrestlingcon.com. Find out all your information about the upcoming signings as well as Virtual Mania. Now it looks like we're switching to green. And this one's for Robert Love at Alameda, California. To green. I'm sorry, it's green to Robert, the Iceman. Terry Skog says, wish I would have had the pleasure of meeting you when I was at the power plant. Did you do some work at the power plant, helping with the guys, or no?
I think like once or twice. I showed my face.
Christy Quinlan has a question, and I think I could probably maybe paraphrase this a
I
little
was young and needed the money.
Hi, Dean. What was the first match you had that made you realize you were going to be a big deal? And if you don't feel comfortable saying what was a big deal, but when was the first match that you just kind of were like, wow, this is clicking. I have this. If there was a moment that stood out.
Not really.
No, not really?
No.
Just kept on working.
I'm still doing it. I'm still trying to figure out when I'm going to get all this.
But could it be, though, I think maybe, again, because you came from a second-generation background, you watched your father as a wrestler, like, that's probably why you had that mindset. I feel like...
Probably.
Yeah.
I think we had a little bit of, me and Eddie used to have a lot of conversations about that because he's another guy that's
Yeah.
third, fourth, fifth down the line.
Yeah.
I think he had a little bit of a jump start, a little bit different mindset.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between guys that grew up as fans, and not that they didn't pay their dues as
Right.
well and earn it, but, I mean, when you grow up in it, it's totally different. Robert Love again in Alameda, California. To Robert, man of 1,000 holes.
Roberto.
Back next week with The Godfather. 80swrestlingcon.com. Check that out. All the information is available at 80swrestlingcon.com. Also, some special announcements about the return of in-person 80s Wrestling Con. That's going to be on the website as well. So go check it out. Don't forget, at 80s Wrestling on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram, at Ryan Mark Comedy. Are you on Instagram?
No, I'm on Teddy Graham.
Teddy Graham. You know what? It's so funny to me. A lot of these veteran wrestlers, they do not want to be bothered with social media.
Is MySpace still around?
No. Well, it is, but it's not.
I'm not on any of that. I don't have one of those things.
Real. Well, you retired in what, 2001, right? So I feel like the social media thing became like around 2004 or 5. So you kind of missed it.
I'm still writing letters. And dialing my phone at home.
There you go. All right, we're moving back to silver now.
Really old school.
Yeah. Well, do you have the rotary?
Yeah.
There you go. Emil Menard to Emil, man of 1,000 holes.
That's a wrestling name.
It totally is, and he's our auction champion each and every week.
Emil Dupree was Rene Dupree's father. He worked up in Canada. That's because that's a real
Oh, okay, yeah, that was Rene Dupree was La Resistance, right?
Yeah. That kid was huge, man, at 18.
Yeah, he was super young when they signed. Another question that I've always wanted to ask you personally, just because I knew him from when he was a Jersey guy, and it was the rumor for years that Simon Dean was a rib on Dean Simon, a.k.a. Dean Malenko. Is there any truth to that?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Probably a little bit.
Probably a little bit. It had to be interesting, though, like, because you're backstage as an agent, and then you find out, oh, wait a minute.
Hold on. We've never heard that before.
Brian Domino in Philly, just signature and 4-time WCW Cruiserweight Champion. George Franklin, 1997's PWI #1 wrestler. Yep, George, we discussed that earlier.
You are the George.
So what I want you to do in a few days, go to 80swrestlingcon.com. This full signing will be available to watch. And you can hear a very funny story from Mr. Malenko about how he found out he was going to be named #1 in the PWI.
Step to number 2 first.
500. All right, now it looks like we're just going all willy-nilly with the colors. Now we got pink, just signature, man of 1,000 holds, Mike Mullins in New York. Pink, just signature, man of 1,000 holds. Jay LaFoe, how much for an autograph? Go to 80swrestlingcon.com. All the information is there for you for this signing as well as all the future ones coming up. Once again, share this link out. Let's get those views up. Let's remind everybody that we're here with Dean Malenko. If they have any questions or comments or would like to purchase a photo. All right, now we're switching to green. Terry Jackson in Maine. Just signature and the Iceman. Are all those still to be done or are they completed?
Those are done.
Those are done. All right.
And we're still going to
We're moving on to memorabilia? Or we still have photos coming in?
remember photos for that? Yes, sir.
And next up, we're moving to red. We got Kelly Fields in Columbia, Tennessee.
Just dry out with it.
Yeah, no, they definitely do. They dry out fast. Well, yeah, our catering manager, Ian Levy, is also our Sharpie coordinator. So we're learning on the fly tonight as we go how to handle this. So I didn't know 80s Wrestling got so big that Ian Levy's getting paid vacation. We'll have to run that up the ladder and discuss.
Or down the ladder.
Yeah. Ooh, great question, and you're probably the perfect guy to ask this. Christy Quinlan wants to know, any advice on how to set yourself apart from other workers? Would it be gear, movement variations, crowd work, etc.? Is there any times like where you're doing a seminar and you see something that maybe a guy could be doing a little bit differently to stand out?
Actually, when I do seminars, it's one of the things I say is I used to have a sign in my wrestling school, my dad's wrestling school, and it said, dare to be different.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is go out of your comfort zone. You know, everybody's doing this. When everybody was jumping off the top rope, I wasn't climbing.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the mat. You know, anything, like people were funny costumes or yelling at, I just came down, like you said, just serious and going to work. Anything that you could do different. You know, for 7 matches in a card, you look at the card, okay, this guy, he's walking the ring with a chimp, this guy's riding an elephant, and whatever.
Yeah.
Just try to be as different as you can so somebody's eyes, looking in that direction. So,
Were there any guys that you looked at in that mentorship role? Obviously, you had your father's influence, but like you had said, he unfortunately passed away young, didn't get to see you really in ECW, WCW. Were there other guys that you would go to for advice or that would offer you advice during those times? Because again, you already were a veteran. You had spent all that time in Japan, but America is a different style, and you would
Right.
introduce different techniques. Were there anybody that kind of took you under their wing?
not really.
No?
Not really.
Yeah, because you always hear the stories about, guys saying, oh, well, I rode with this one, and I would pick his brain.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way the business used to be. And it changed.
Yeah, I
A
could
lot
see.
of the veteran guys aren't there anymore.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. But I just meant like during your WCW heyday,
Right,
there were guys.
right.
Who would you ride with back in those days?
Eddie and Chris,
Yeah.
15 years.
Wow.
Well, I drove, they rode.
There you go.
You know.
Was that by choice? You prefer driving?
Yeah, because they never paid attention.
Next up, we got Kyle Jennerson in Kentucky, and this is in red. I got it for you, man. 1,000 holes. There you go. Okay,
Who's
scroll.
this?
That is. There you go. Ryan Martinez, best technical wrestlers to never win a title. Dean, I guess a world title. Dean, Ted DiBiase, and William Regal. Who should round out the top 5? So you're in the 3 right there with Dean Malenko, Ted DiBiase, and William Regal. Are there 2 other top wrestlers that never won the world title that you could think of? I'm sure that there's many, but
Oh, God, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of. We're talking technical wrestlers, right? So,
Technicals.
so yeah. So I mean, we wouldn't really include a. Would we include a Roddy Piper in that? I mean, he could be technical. He was more known for brawling, right?
Arn Anderson.
Arn Anderson could probably be in
I
that
don't
mix.
think it's time.
Bob Orton Jr.
Bob Orton Jr. Yeah, Kurt Hennig was AWA World Champion, so that.
That takes him out.
Yeah, it's one of those questions that could always. It's always like, you know, who's on your Mount Rushmore, right? It could always be Scott Hall would be another one. Kim Teller in North.
Kim Teller, she's another one.
Kim Teller could have been world champion.
I could have been somebody.
Well, Jeff Shanks had to correct you really quick. What do you mean? All three have won numerous titles. We were talking world titles. Let's go easy on each other, guys.
Some people are sick.
Sean Barton with a great question. I always wondered why he, I guess that means you, didn't rename the Texas Cloverleaf to match your gimmick. Do you have ties to Texas, or am I just overthinking this?
Way over. I'm still trying to figure out why it's put Texas on.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I remember it was one of those things that I just heard Mike Tenay always saying.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess if you said like Tennessee, that would sound funny.
Yeah, no, the Tennessee Cloverleaf doesn't have the same amount of ring to it. David Trumbull in Connecticut, green, signature, and man of 1,000 volts. These must be all the orders that are coming in now live. That's why the colors are all.
Live in the Technicolor.
Yeah, there you go. Live in any color and Technicolor. The80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in for Dean Malenko. We still have some time left with him this evening. Next week, we're back with The Godfather, who will be signing as Papa Shango as well. So I don't know, is he going to be painting his face during some of it and then taking it off? I don't know.
Is your hose going to be here?
I hope he brings the hose. I mean, there's plenty of clubs nearby where they can go get picked
I
up.
remember when they started bringing models and it was like hose light.
Yeah. Yeah, well, first it started out as dancers, right?
Right.
Exotic dancers from numerous towns, and then they brought in the models.
They weren't ballet dancers?
No, I don't think they were. I don't think it was ballet. It was, or maybe the Newark Ballet, as it's been called. Next up, we got Bob Collins in Canada, green, just signature, plus man of 1,000 holds. 80swrestlingcon.com. Share this link out. Let's get those numbers up with the questions in the comments. If you have any memories, don't forget the body of work that Mr. Malenko has put out over the years, ECW, WCW, WWE, not to mention all the work in Japan as well. So there's lots of stuff that we could discuss. Next up, Dave from Wayne, New Jersey, but it's To Bend. In green, To Bend.
Why does that sound funny? And the two of us.
Terry Skagg, in reference to your comment, you're going to have to email 80s Wrestling for that, all right? I just, right now, I just pass along what's given to me, and I ask the questions and comments, so please email 80s Wrestling with that concern. All right, this one is Patricia Sanders in Staten Island, New York, and it's gold.
Staten Island.
WWF Cruiserweight Champion plus the signature. Thank you.
What was his name?
It's funny how these things come in at the same time because the photo that's just about to be signed, there's a question about it, which we'll get to in just a second. Funny how that works out sometime.
Funny.
All right, so this next one is from Alabama. It's Chris Clemmers. He wants gold, just signature, plus the Radicals WWF. And as that comes in, David Geyer. Hey, Dean, what did you think of the Radicals' idea in WWE? Did they present to you from the beginning when you first signed that they were going to put you guys all together at once? Or
No, not really.
Okay.
Just kind of manifested.
Really was a smart idea in a lot of ways because people knew the history. Every wrestling fan knew what you guys had done in the past, especially Chris Benoit just coming off a world championship win and vacating the title. And then bringing you guys in with him as the Radicals.
Remember Eddie blew his shoulder out. Was it the first night? Second night, Detroit.
Oh,
With the frog splash. Blew it out. He was so pissed.
I can imagine. He had a sling, I remember,
Yeah.
for a while, right?
Yeah.
He was coming out still on TV. Yeah, it's unfortunate how those things happen. Well, now I think that that's something that goes on now, too, with the women. because injury was always something that you had to worry about.
Of course.
But now there's pregnancy, there's all these different things that happen.
Thank God I've never been tested. Having my baby.
There you go. And now we're moving on to pink again. Dom Valenti, signature plus the Ice Man. Devin Ashman, memories of defeating S.A. Rios for the light heavyweight title.
I like this.
Yeah, that was a great, and that was.
You want to watch a really good match? S.A. Rios against Kurt Angle. Just sounds like it wouldn't be.
Okay.
Awesome.
Really?
Awesome.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out. S.A. Rios versus Kurt Angle. Yeah, I was a fan of his, and that actually is what introduced the WWE audience to Lita, who I had remembered from ECW as Miss Congeniality, and then she came over into WWE with S.A. Rios, and that was the first time I had ever seen a valet doing Hurricane Ranas and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I always feel bad too, because I feel like if she had been around during what's going on now, like if she was 20 years ahead of her time, I mean, I could only imagine the matches she'd have with a Charlotte Flair or a Serena or any of those talents. Romeo Sass, is that Mr. Malenko next to you? No, it's the stud. It's
that guy over there.
Yeah, it's the stud. No, it is Dean Malenko, and he's here with us tonight.
Hold on a second. No!
It's Cyclope.
Out of real life with business.
There you go. A lot of people asking about the Radicals. So basically, you guys sign with the company all separately, whatever, but they say we're just going to put you all together. You made the decision to go over together, correct?
Right.
Yeah, because there's been different. Well, Mike Graham had different opinions on what happened as well.
Well, the one story has been told before, but it's always funny to tell. Is Eddie was late to the arena that night in Cincinnati when we were walking down the corridor to kind of give our release, and Eddie had his bag and he's pulling behind him. He goes, "Where are you guys going?" "No, I'm going to quit." He goes, "I'll come with you." I didn't even think about it. Just, there was that trust factor. So
Yeah.
I could have said anything. We're going to just jump off a bridge. I'll come with you.
Oh, there you go. That's the brotherhood of professional wrestling, and you guys certainly had that. All those.
I think it was later when he pulled me aside and said, "Are we quitting? Did I just quit?" Yeah, but you'll be good. I got your job.
So if I understand correctly, so obviously we know the Radicals was Perry Saturn, yourself, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, but wasn't there also talk of Shane Douglas quitting with you guys? Was he a part of that whole?
There was a couple guys that walked down the hall with us, and then one by one they darted behind closed doors. So it's like, if you turn around, the list started like 12, and then there was 8, and now there's 6. I guess we'll do this on our own, guys.
There you go, and you held your guns, and it certainly paid off.
Look at me.
Clark Marshall in Tennessee, gold, and WCW US champion. Kenny, your question about Sturgis, we actually discussed that earlier, so the next couple days, go to 80swrestlingcon.com. This full signing will be available on the website. Any questions that you may have missed, they'll all be available with that full signing in the next couple of days. So check that out at 80swrestlingcon.com. Ryan Martinez killing us with the questions tonight.
Here's my own question.
Okay.
Who's the referee in this?
That's
Mark Curtis.
Mark Curtis,
He's
yes.
my favorite referee ever.
Favorite referee of all time.
All time.
He's the name, too, that a lot of guys say the same thing. Mick Foley always speaks very highly of
Awesome.
him.
Awesome guy.
There you go. A lot of those referees from WCW have a lot of respect all these years later. I remember Mick Foley saying that it was actually Mark Curtis who introduced him to the Terry Funk Punch.
Right.
That's a true testament to a guy's talent, especially as a referee. If you can watch a wrestler work and then go to them and say, "Hey, you know who you should watch if you need help with this guy." Like, that's just amazing eye for what's going on.
Jericho would probably say this too, and I think he said this in a couple of his books. One of our best nights ever in the business was we did a tribute to Brian Hildebrand, Mark Curtis. He was battling cancer at the time. We had a show in Knoxville, and it was myself and Benoit against Jericho and Eddie, and we had the Four Horsemen shirt underneath the referee shirt. Mark took it off and put 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
It was one of the last times he actually appeared in the ring. It was pretty touching. It was a bunch of really good friends that had a chance to play homage to their buddy that night.
That's
It was
awesome.
pretty cool.
That is really cool. Now, during those times, did referees ever travel with the wrestlers, or was it kind of like a separate?
Yeah, my dad used to tell me the worst guy you could ever travel with is the referee because they're last out of the arena sometimes.
Oh, okay.
They get stuck.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
That's an excellent
They
point.
smell really good.
Next up, we are with blue. So we got Salvatore Jenkins in Pennsylvania.
Salvatore.
Signature plus the shooter and the Iceman. I don't know if there's any relation to Sal Sincere. And we are moving along. Ryan Martinez actually with another great question. Now that you have been an agent for 20 years, when you look back, who were some of the better agents for WCW and WWE that you worked with? So I guess as a wrestler, were there favorite producers / agents that you enjoyed working with?
Well, there's always a group of us. We used to call ourselves the Sun City guys. It's myself, Arn Anderson, Sid Finley, Mike Rotundo. In between there was a couple of stints by Ricky Steamboat, Steve Kern. We always had like a little minivan, like a bunch of old guys in a minivan. And we just had fun. We just had a bunch of respect for each other.
Yeah.
Just kind of use each other as a soundboard and bounce different ideas off of.
I had the pleasure of meeting Steve Kern at the first Virtual Mania that we did. We did a signing with him, and what a character he is. Absolutely hilarious. I mean, I was laughing the entire 3 hours. Just such a great, great guy. Next up, we got Marshall Hodge in Tennessee. We got a red one right here. Red to Marshall. There you go. Kenny Brewer. This is awesome. Thank you, Kenny. You can check us out, 80swrestlingcon.com, all the upcoming signings, as well as all the past ones that we've done. I know personally for me, it's been great during the pandemic when I was out of work to get to come up here and hang out and host these great signings with all these phenomenal talents who I grew up watching, true legends in the wrestling business. Kenny wants to know, and I love this guy. He's actually a friend of mine. Have you worked with Nick Eugene Dinsmore?
Oh my God, no. Not wrestle with him, but work with the same company.
Yeah, that was a very interesting gimmick. That again, I don't know
Yeah, it was.
if it would work nowadays.
You'd have somebody all over you.
Which is kind of interesting if you think about it, because I believe it was like 2006-ish. So we've changed a lot over the last 15 years only.
No, we have.
All right, we're moving back to pink now, and is that pink paint? No, we don't want that one. Yeah, I think that's the only pink one we have. So Doug Jeffrey, signature plus WWF Cruiserweight champ. Nicholas Monteacito says, Dean looks in great health. What does his training consist of?
McDonald's.
Are you really a McDonald's guy? No, I can't picture you being a McDonald's guy. I don't think anybody that was such a supreme athlete in their prime ever just goes, hey, I'm going to start eating McDonald's.
You never know what to do for your career.
There you go.
If you're a little stuffed up and constipated, McDonald's is good. All that grease helps.
Yeah, I you know what? I used to be kind of a fast food connoisseur, but I'm down 50 pounds now, and I don't want to go back, so we'll see what happens. But, all right, we got another photo coming in. Take your time. There's no rush.
Take us out of there.
Watch out for that wire.
That's what I'm worried about.
All right, we're still with gold. Jim Weber in Kentucky wants just signature plus WWF
In relation to
2001.
Dick Weber.
Dick Weber, maybe. You never know.
I love Dick. Jim Weber.
Oh, Kenny Brewer is letting us know that Nick Dinsmore is his coach. Well, Kenny, you tell Nick that Ryan Marr says hello. He actually did my podcast a few months ago, Spitball and Legends, where we talked about Vince McMahon for an hour. And Nick Eugene Dinsmore gave us a lot of insight, and it was a lot of fun. So you tell Nick I said hello. Nick was actually also very recently at the Wrestling Collector Superstore.
I should give Nick my worst.
You can also follow the Wrestling Collector Superstore on Instagram as well. It is owned by the very people that bring you these Monday Night Virtuals through 80s Wrestling Con. So make sure you give that a good look over on Instagram. We found out that Dean Malenko has nothing to do with social media.
No.
Before we move on to the memorabilia, Ryan, can you just take my spot for 2 minutes? And then we'll move on to the memorabilia. Mr. Malenko, I will be right back. I'm going to leave you in good hands.
What is he, Allstate?
That's like a good neighbor. I will be right back.
I will be there.
Let it talk, it'll be back.
Okay, sorry. So would they call you Mayor McCheese from what I hear?
I do. It's my official name.
Kind of tired of the McDonald's thing.
As you've been working with AEW, what are some of your favorite guys to work with?
I really like working with Darby. Darby asks a lot of questions. He's always trying to improve. A really good mind for the business. Great work ethic. Those kind of guys I like to work with. He understands that when you have veteran guys walking around, pick the brain. That's what we're there for. He's really good. He's a good kid too. Really likes to work.
Do you see a lot of those guys looking up to like the Arn and Tullys, to you,
Big time,
Jake?
big time, big time. It's great resources. Like right in front of them. You'd be stupid not to.
Yes.
You know, guys like Arn and Tully and Jake and Goldust, Jericho. I mean, there's so many guys there. Pull them aside and talk to them, and then they do. The talent's really good about doing that.
You don't have to mention any names if you don't want to, but is there anyone who you ran into as an agent who thought they knew everything or didn't want to listen to some of the older guys that came before them?
Yeah, I mean, you get that. You get that in every business. Somebody who's, you know it all. Right. The guys like that, I just don't have time for.
Well, you have to work with them somehow. So how do you kind of maneuver or escape on that?
At the end of it, make it seem like it's my idea. No. I mean, just do your best. You know, it's a job that you have to do. Or sometimes you'll be in the room with guys that you don't like, you don't really care for, but it's a job that you do. You're paid to do a service. You work right as best you can.
Is there a guy in WWE or in AEW that would have to set those guys straight?
Not necessarily.
No.
The boys try to police themselves as much as they can. Don't try to keep it in the locker room so it doesn't get everywhere.
I mean, you hear the stories from back years ago, but even today, that's still the case?
Not as much. There's not a lot of veteran guys anymore. Guys are too busy playing video games. Then sometimes watching a product and trying to better themselves.
You've worked for several different federations over that time. You have well, they keep hiring you, so you're doing something right. But what would you say was your favorite out of all the ones you worked for?
I don't know. Everybody said they've worked with three or four different companies in Japan. And working for Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff, Vince McMahon, and now work for Tony Khan. They're all so different, in their own way. I learned a lot from everybody. And that's really the secret is, to take a little bit from this guy, a little bit of this guy, how things are done, good or bad or different. Just constantly learning.
You were never exactly known as an extreme wrestler, so how did being an ECW work?
What was great about that is what guys were putting tacks in their head or lighting their crotches on fire or whatever they did that night. I could go out and wrestle and have a totally different match.
Might be why you lasted longer than some of them.
Yeah. I love these guys that had like their head slashed open, making like $50 a night and saying, I don't think I can get a job in the real world. Probably you're not going to sell vacuums door to door if you look like somebody's just murdered you.
No, it's difficult.
Yeah, very much.
Were you ever a fan of that at all? Or was that just like completely?
No, I mean, I get it. I mean, there's still stuff that goes on now that don't have to totally agree with it. I get it still takes a lot for these guys to put their body on the line like they do every night. I think sometimes guys crash through tables. We just take it. Okay, you just went to the table. Yeah, but the table's like unforgiving. I was there the night Fit Finley got half of his heel and his foot taken off and almost lost his career. And it was just a simple, basic table. But sometimes the table doesn't want to work with you.
Right.
Things like that happen.
I see that the guy who actually knows how to post the show's back, so I'm going to tap out.
You're doing a fantastic job. Thank you. We are back. Yep, I had it.
Seems like a commercial for Ambien.
Exactly. Oh, stop it. We're having a great time here, and sometimes nature calls, but has that ever happened in a ring? Did you ever have to go sneak under the ring and?
No.
No? Never? Even when you would do like a 45-minute match or anything, you never had to?
I think you just don't think about it because you're
yeah.
It's not like you got somebody in a weird chin like, I have to go to the bathroom. You just roll out together and roll into the ring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Defecate under the ring.
I've heard lots of stories about that over the years about people having to get quite creative, where you'd hear about guys that were kept under the ring.
I do know one time that was on air, and didn't think he was on air. Booker T was just learning the ropes of being working the commentary desk.
Uh-huh.
And right during, I think it was SmackDown or something, if I get the story right. And he's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Just got up and walked out, walked away. It was like, left like Michael Cole and somebody there by himself.
Oh, that's great.
It's one of those things where you just get up and go to the bathroom.
Are the stories we hear true about?
They're all true.
About how downright sometimes abusive Vince can be to the commentators, like yelling in their ear about what to say.
No, it's, it's Vince's product.
Yeah.
And if he wants things done a certain way, and,
Yeah, that's the way it is.
that's the way it is.
I could just imagine how, even just doing this sometimes, like, there'll be a production note that'll get texted to me. Tommy might text me to do something, and that's fine. But, you're trying to just follow along the chat because you're live. I couldn't imagine being live
Well,
in front of millions of people.
try it with a headset on, and
Yep.
you're listening to about 5 or 6 different voices.
Yeah.
It's like Randy's song, the voices in his head.
Yeah.
We all do.
So other than Vince, who are some of the other voices that are chiming in back there?
You hear everybody, from the camera guys to the guys in the truck to
Wow.
You hear everybody.
While still trying to call the action
Oh, yeah.
going on live in the room.
And you can't say, "Oh, guys, shut up."
Yeah, it's definitely stressful.
Yeah, very much.
Shane Ficaro wants to know, and he actually asked this earlier, and I didn't get to it. Were you friends with Umaga?
Yes.
Yes. He was another incredible talent.
Yes, he was.
All right, now we're moving on to my favorite portion of the evening. This is the memorabilia that is
Perfect. And I
sent
gotta go to
in.
the bathroom.
What's that? Do you?
No.
I mean, if you have to, I'll kill time for you. I can just plug all the
Kill
upcoming
time.
signings. All right, Mr.
Kill time.
Malenko will be right back.
Oh.
Actually, while he's doing that, I want to show, if you don't mind, Ryan, if you could just for a moment while Mr. Malenko steps off, can you bring me the auction items? So I'll start plugging that. That's not going to be for a while, but it'll give me something to rap about. I had to use the bathroom. I guess it was contagious. Mr. Malenko will be right back. So as you guys know, every Monday we auction off some live items that are going to be signed by the talent. And also, yes, I'll get to, well, now we're just getting bombarded here. So here we have the centerfold of Dean Malenko, as he joked, his first centerfold. I don't know if this was before or after he became the stud, but this is from Pro Wrestling Illustrated in 1997 when he was named the #1 professional wrestler in the world. Mr. Malenko will be signing this, and it will be auctioned off later on, as well as the magazine. Separate auction. Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I remember being a kid. I had my WWE magazine subscription. I had my WCW magazine subscription. These were a special treat. You'd be at the supermarket with your parents. You'd be annoying them. Go look at the wrestling magazines, pick one out. And every year, we always look forward to the annual PWI 500, ranking the top 500 wrestlers in the world. And Dean Malenko was the first #1 to never be a world champion. So that's a testament to just how great of a technical wrestler he was. So those are going to be the auction items, as well as this boot, which will be signed by Dean Malenko. So all three of these items will be available for the auction tonight. Thank you so much, Ryan, for that. Go to 80swrestlingcon.com. Find out how you can send in your memorabilia for any of our upcoming signings that we have. The big one, of course, Virtual Mania 2, Sunday, August 22nd, all-day event. Make sure you check us out for that. We're going to have the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher. We're going to have Billy Gunn, D'Lo Brown, and, of course, WWE Hall of Famer and newly signed AEW talent / production / agent, Mark Henry. So that's going to be a really, really big day. We're looking forward to that. Next week, we're here with The Godfather. 3 weeks, we're here with Mark Mero. Or is that in 2 weeks? It's in 2 weeks, actually, right? I don't know. I'm going to have to check out this. It is in 3. I was right the first time. So 80swrestlingcon.com. Check that out. When Mr. Malenko comes back, we're going to start moving on to some of the memorabilia that was sent in by the fans. Kyle James says, "This is better than Raw. You're always getting so much knowledge about the business." Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Mike. And thank you, Kyle, for the comment. Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm a pretty knowledgeable wrestling fan, but I had no idea about the match with the Malenko brothers and the Bulldogs in Japan. I'm going to definitely be looking that up tonight. So much great stuff. What a storied career Mr. Malenko has had. 14 years in Japan before we even saw him in ECW, and I remember watching that match with him and Eddie Guerrero on MSG Network here in the New Jersey, New York area. It was at 1 a.m. Saturday night. I was up past my bedtime, and it was one of the greatest matches ever. And people will still talk about that. You and Eddie Guerrero in ECW.
Eddie Guerrero.
Also, don't forget the return
Return.
of independent superstars of professional wrestling, the ISPW Wrestling Richard Butler School, to benefit the Butler Bloomingdale Youth Club. That's going to be on Sunday, September 5th, 2021. in Butler, New Jersey. Great fundraiser on the Sunday of Labor Day weekend, and special appearances by Sergeant Slaughter and Rikishi. Also, we're going to have Dangerous Danny Davis coming out of retirement as a referee that night. And then, of course, we're going to have Gilbert wrestling for the first time in New Jersey in quite a while. Gilbert versus Matt Stryker of WWE fame.
Two of my favorites.
Two of your favorites, Gilbert and Matt Stryker. There you go. Can't tell if that's sarcasm or not, so I'm just going to roll with it.
That's a main event anywhere in the country.
Well, there is quite a lot of great matches lined up for that show. Now we're moving on to my favorite portion of the evening, the memorabilia.
To tell the truth.
Yeah, to tell the truth. There we go. So here we have from Topps Trading Cards. It's a Dean Malenko WWE Legends action figure. This is for Luke Glover. He wants signature just in black. So there's the black marker. Luke Glover, but
Luke
just
Glover.
wants the signature on
It's
that
very,
one.
he's a country artist.
While you were away, Kyle James said this is better than Raw. So, and I actually, when I stepped out, Raw is on in the lobby.
We just saw it.
I don't know. I believe it was Sheamus against somebody. I didn't see who the other guy was. Who was it?
I think it was Pedro Morales against Bob Backlund.
Pedro. Yeah.
It's the same match we've been doing for years.
Yeah. It was WWE 24/7 on in the lobby. This hotel, it's a little behind the times. We'll get there.
Jim Powers.
Guy with the Wind just opened up the cinema.
There you go. Here's a WCW trading card. Did you ever pop for any of this stuff? I mean, because you know you're.
You know what's fun is I want to give them my kids. And he's
Yeah.
dartboards or something.
Oh, come on. I'm sure they treasure it.
That's
Well, I
cool.
mean, because your father was a wrestling legend, but they didn't have the merchandise back then. So it's got to be pretty cool
It is.
to see stuff like this. Sean Barton, red 2SB1. Oh, you got red right there. There you go. Yeah, I can only imagine that even if you're the most business-oriented, serious person, it's got to be cool to see trading cards and action figures, and being in video games especially as well. Adam Groon, once again, I probably had to say something like this earlier to somebody else. I get all the orders handed to me. I hand them off. Email at 80s Wrestling for that question. I don't want to ignore your question, but I do not have the ability to answer it. We've been signing a lot of different stuff, so just send an email over to 80s Wrestling and they'll get back to you. I guarantee you, if you place the order, your stuff has been signed or it will be. So here we have WCW Magazine, issue 52, July 1999. Goldberg front and center. Oh, wow, it got pretty much the who's who.
Things have changed.
Yeah. Not really, because now, what is he, in another title match coming up?
Yep.
Hotberg, Iceberg, Greenberg.
Yeah, there you
Goldberg,
go.
all the same.
Well, Goldberg's still at the top of his game. I don't know how you lose matches and then automatically come back as a #1 contender. There's no continuity anymore. But anyway, the WCW Magazine, Dean Malenko's on the cover right next to Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit as well. And this is, again, the July 1999 issue of WCW Magazine. And this is Scott Yerxa in Los Angeles, California. He wants just the signature in blue. I guess you could sign right up there by your name. Again, a lot of you guys are asking questions about the orders. I do not have the ability to answer those questions. I'm sorry. Go to the website and please follow through with the information there. I'm sure your question will be answered. Next up, we have John DiPiero in New Jersey, and this is a beautiful shot of Madison Square Garden.
Where am I?
You got the Empire State Building in the background, and I guess he's just
There's
having...
Kong.
What's that?
Kong.
Yeah, there's King Kong right there, climbing the Empire State Building.
Jason Furrier.
He's got Tori Wilson in his hand. He's about to throw her
And
off.
Summer.
Summer Rae, not to be confused with Fay Ray. I like that. Man, he is the man of 1,001 holes, or lines, whatever. All right, we have special markers coming in now for special signings. 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. The store is open, I believe, for another 20 minutes or so, or maybe even longer. I don't even know what time it is. Next up, we got Kieran Todd
Kieran.
in Trenton, New Jersey.
Japanese beer.
Yeah. Home of J.J. Dillon, Trenton, New Jersey. Blue, just signature. Iceman, Man of a Thousand Holds, he's got a special marker for you. That's how you know they're serious, when not only do they send in the memorabilia, they go, we want it signed with this marker.
Who's this? Kenan?
Yeah, Kieran Todd. Kieran Todd. 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. Share this link out to your friends. Don't forget, next week we're here with The Godfather, a.k.a. Papa Shango, a.k.a. Kama, the Ultimate Fighting Machine. All right. And so here we have Classic Superstars Edition from Jack's Pacific.
Jax.
The Dean Malenko action figure, very detailed. It even came with its very own WWE Light Heavyweight Championship belt. This is for Nicholas De Silva. Look, it even says your debut on the back there, 1979. That ECW World Tag Champion, Light Heavyweight Champion. There you go. Yellow. Dean Malenko.
Hello.
The Man of a Thousand Holds. So there you go. You can keep those comments and questions coming in the chat. We take our time with it around this time because, as always, we want to take special care of the memorabilia that's sent in. If there's a mistake on an 8x10 that's ordered, no big deal. We can just toss that 8x10, print out a new one. But this is people's personal memorabilia. We want to make sure that we get it right the way they requested. So I'm not ignoring you in the chat. We're taking our time to get these orders right. Lots of action figures and photos coming up. Same action figure, the Classic Superstars Edition. Doesn't say who this is for, but they want red, just signature, 4-time WCW Cruiserweight Champion.
Shines, hits that thing. It's hard to see.
Now, when you find out that they're making an action figure of you, especially over these last few years, what do? They bring you into a studio, they scan your whole face, and
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool that they pull out it's like a mobile type deal where you sit in a chair and just kind of spin.
wow. And the same for video games as well, or they hook you up to
I
the.
haven't done a video game in years.
Yeah. Well, I remember, my opinion, one of the best video games that actually changed the way wrestling video games were. On the old PlayStation, it was called WCW versus the World, and you were in that game. And Sting was on the cover in the Crow gimmick, which had just debuted, and it was WCW wrestlers and then a bunch of fictional international wrestlers, because I guess they didn't have the licensing for it. And I believe Mr. Fuji actually sued and won a substantial amount of money because one of the they just basically ripped off Mr. Fuji completely and put him in. So we got Ryan Barreto in Canada, Red, the Iceman, the Man of a Thousand Holds. And I love seeing how these action figures are kept in such tip-top condition. I was a moron. I would play with mine, they'd get broken. Christopher Curtis, who actually shared this link to his Facebook feed. We appreciate that. Thank you, Dean, for the signing. You were the guy to watch on Nitro for me. When the NWO was choking the interest out of the program, I would look forward to your cruiserweight matches and marked like crazy when the WWE signed the Radicals.
Yay.
Bryant Newell says WCW NWO Revenge for Nintendo 64 was the best. Yep, that was another great game. And you could actually, they had the championship belts in that game. You could wear them out to the ring, which was pretty cool. A first for its time. This is blue, just signature. It's for Daniel Hicks in Carrollton, Texas. And once again, with the Classic Superstars Dean Malenko action figure.
A little funny little tidbit about these action figures.
Please.
They actually came out with one for Mystico. Was it Mystico?
Sin Cara? No, Mystico.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
They started with the company, wasn't here long. But his action figure actually came out and it had a crutch and a doctor in it. Yeah, we laughed. It was the funniest thing we ever saw.
And there was just no reason for it. They just threw it in there.
Because all he did was kept getting hurt. But yeah, it was funny. Like, I don't know who thought that. Somebody must have done it as a joke and they just kept bringing it out.
Well, one of the funny stories that I heard too, and you know, thinking back on it, I was like, wow, I didn't pick up on it as a kid. Once again, Sean Waltman was doing an interview, and he talked about how Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig had shaved his eyebrows off.
Oh, yeah.
The next day was his photo shoot for his Hasbro action figure.
Oh.
And sure enough, I've seen people send them in. When you see that Hasbro action figure, there's 1, 2, 3 kid with no eyebrows. And it's front and center. So that's...
The worst thing is, the worst and best thing was, well, they did one of me and Jericho's, the magnets where you could put the hands together.
Okay.
So when you went to buy it, the SKU came out Hogan. Which means for everyone that we were selling, he was making a price.
Wow. I think I read something about that. Maybe Jericho talked about that.
Jericho talked about it.
Yeah, you wonder if that happens by design or if there's a little
Just
bit...
seemed official.
Yeah, I could imagine. What was he like in WCW? Did he kind of keep to himself, or?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, he's a good guy.
No, yeah, and you always hear the different stories about how WCW, in a lot of ways, I compare it to ECW in the sense that it was really you guys, especially with the cruiserweights, doing your own thing. It sounds like there wasn't a lot of structure. It was kind of like just go out there, do whatever. Was that a big adjustment moving over to WWE after spending a few years in WCW? Now there's a ton of structure and...
Yeah, a little bit different for sure.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine that being something that you have to get used to. Next up, Kieran Todd in Trenton, New Jersey. Gold, just signature, and the Iceman, a glossy, all these years later, WCW 8x10. Gold, just signature. 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. We got a few more action figure sets coming up. Ooh, this is an interesting. I never saw this one before. So this is, I guess, a limited edition Lex Luger and Dean Malenko,
Yeah.
both in the Four Horsemen. But now here's what's interesting about this: the shirt that Luger's wearing was not the Four Horsemen shirt that was around when he was in the Horsemen.
What I got from that was really supposed to be a bit more.
Oh.
Took Chris off of everything.
Oh, well, that would make
I
sense.
questioned that right away. Like, why would I be blind?
Yeah.
I guess because he was a past horseman.
No, he was a past, and you know what though, you're probably right because, like you said, the T-shirt that is the shirt that you and Benoit had worn
Right.
during your run, so that would make sense. Ryan Barreto in Canada, just
Ryan
signature.
Everything I know.
And man of 1,000 holds. Alrighty, we are moving along here. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Signing the action figure Four Horsemen with Lex Luger, WWE Limited Edition Classic Superstars. Don't forget, you can send in your memorabilia for any of our upcoming signings. That was a question that I wanted to ask you without getting into all the tragic details, but was there something put out, especially for you guys that were especially close with Chris, where they told you, like, look, we're not going to show anything anymore, we can't do it, but when you do interviews, was there ever anything that they told you that you couldn't say or couldn't discuss?
I think there's a couple times. I mean, I personally brought it up, like, and you know, it was such a big part of my career and daily life. It's hard to talk about this situation without mentioning his name.
Absolutely.
So it was, I think it was just, you can mention his name, you just gotta be careful.
With how you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's definitely a touchy situation. I mean, and of course there was the tragedy, which is the real shame of it all. But when you think about that body of work, and not only just for his benefit, how it did benefit so many guys like yourself and Eddie Guerrero, and I mean even Randy Orton, his first world championship, youngest world championship, and that was such a great match and a surprise finish, and that ending with that handshake, and you just that won't be shown anymore. But now I'm seeing that his son looks like he's getting involved with the business or thinking about it, or
Yeah.
so that's nice to see, I think. Next up, we got Kieran Todd in Trenton, New Jersey.
I like Kieran.
Yeah, a lot of Kieran. I think it's the same guy. He's just a huge Dean Malenko fan. He wants gold. Just the signature plus the Iceman. We are moving along. We got all this memorabilia, lots of great old 8x10s and action figures. You can find out how you can send in your memorabilia for future signings by going to 80swrestlingcon.com. All right. Next up, Eli Goldstein in Arizona. Eli's
Eli's coming.
White, just signature. Where's our white at? Here's our white right here.
White out.
Looks like that was that was also signed by Lex as well. Just signature and man of 1,000 holds. 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those orders coming in. We do have a live auction coming up in just a little bit. Going to be auctioning off the centerfold from the PWI 500, as well as
Jake
the.
Giles plays centerfold.
Well, you got up and went up the way we were talking about that a little bit. We also have the full magazine as well as a wrestling boot that will be signed by Mr. Malenko. All right. Okay, this one has very specific instructions, it looks like.
Look to the east when you're ready.
Blue, to Adam, Dean Malenko, the Iceman, man of 1,000 holds, and that's in blue. I don't know if it's specified light or dark, but I'll leave it up to you. Okay, all right.
What's his name again? Or Adam.
Adam. Don't forget, next week we're here with The Godfather 3 weeks from tonight. Marvelous Mark Merrow, a.k.a. Johnny B. Bad, a.k.a. The Wild Man. That'll be in 3 weeks. Godfather, a.k.a. Papa Shango, a.k.a. Kama. Next week, got to run down all the gimmicks for all the photos that are available. All right. And for this one, they just want you to include your signature there on your Iceman. Lines. Someone want to take some of this stuff over here? He's all right. Now we're
Give me the bell.
Now we're back to the 8x10s. This is Cat Griffin in Connecticut. Green WWF Cruiserweight champ.
When I first saw this, I thought somebody drew fangs coming up.
Yeah, it is an interesting photo.
The mic's coming up.
Barry Rocky Bird says, I'm just waiting for him to autograph a mop, then I'm out.
This green's not working.
That green's not working. We'll try the this green then. Green paint, I guess. It's the only. Do we have another regular green, or can we go to the paint? Because this green's not working. Speaking of mop, do you keep in contact with Perry Saturn? I know.
Talked to him.
Okay. I know he had disappeared for a while, and now came back, and we just need a new green for Mr. Malenko. If someone can provide us with that.
Green envy.
There you go. I'm seeing people are still jumping in and tagging their friends in this. That's great. Thank you so much. But you can also share this video to your Facebook newsfeed. Let all your friends see it. Might be some closet wrestling fans that you don't know about. Okay, here's the green. Right there. Keep those questions and comments coming in. We have Dean Malenko here till around 10 o'clock, so please feel free to drop those questions or comments. All right, now we got Tim Baker. He wants red, the signature, plus the radicals. I got your red right here. There we go. I'm sorry? Yeah, well, I have it right here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he just wants the signature, right? Yeah, so we're good. This is quite the program. All right, next up we have from Carlos V. This is the 1994 Super J Cup First Stage program.
I got that at home.
Yeah,
Actually, that is mine. How'd you get that?
Carlos, he's taking it back. You stole it from him. No, this is absolutely
That's cool.
impressive. Yeah, quite larger than any wrestling program we would have in the United States. And then even in the back here, I guess these are action figures of you guys that they have on the back. Very impressive. And of course, look at that young handsome devil
Yeah.
right there. So that's where.
Satoru Sayama.
Hey.
First Tiger Mask.
Oh, okay. The first Tiger Mask right next to you. And then we got Jushin Liger on the opposite page. Definitely a who's who of Japanese professional wrestling. Not Jim Neidhart. Who's who. And being signed right there by Mr. Malenko.
I actually have the shirt of him.
Oh, wow. The original J Cup t-shirt, huh?
With all the guys on it.
That's awesome. And here we have a great, I guess this was a copy of a painting or a drawing of
Oh.
the Four Horsemen. And throughout the years, I see Ole Anderson up there, JJ, Barry Windham, Lex Luger, Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, and then of course right here we got Tully Blanchard and the man who's sitting next to me, Dean Malenko. So silver
Hey.
and just your signature. There you go. 80swrestlingcon.com. We are going through these orders pretty quickly. Have a live auction coming up in just a few minutes.
Hi-Ho Silver.
What's that?
Hi-Ho Silver.
So a lot of guys always talk about, now maybe this was different as an agent for you, because when a lot of guys were on the road as wrestlers, they didn't really have a chance to do much sightseeing or anything of that nature. Did you get to take in any sights as an agent over the years, or no? Were you just as busy?
Once, maybe like a European vacation.
Yeah.
National Lampoon.
Great movie.
Yeah, I had like the day off. We would actually all went through, walked through the Coliseum.
Wow, that's impressive.
Hunter got everybody together and went to Steve, Brisbane, Australia. Steve got died from
Steve Irwin.
Steve.
Yeah.
Steve.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty cool.
That had to be really cool.
So stuff like that, we try to arrange for the boys. Time away.
That is cool. I actually heard a great story about the Vatican, where Owen Hart had convinced Rene Goulet that his wallet had gotten stolen. And I could only imagine some of the overseas shenanigans that would take place during those times. Barry Rocky Burns says, thanks for the memories. I used to put my brother in the Texas Cloverleaf all the time.
Yeah. Now my brother can't walk anymore.
What do we have coming up next, guys? Any other memorabilia that's been sent in, or
Yeah, we get some encyclopedia.
Dean's first straw.
let's get them going. Don't forget, next week we're back with The Godfather. 3 weeks from tonight, Mark Merrow. Full list of signings available at 80swrestlingcon.com. For the encyclopedia, you can just hand it to Mr. Malenko right there.
What?
Black Sharpie, just signed for right there.
I've actually done it before. People write just your name, and I'd write just your name.
No, yeah, well, that's not what I mean. We had a couple guys over time that they would actually like look at the color and it would say red or green, and they would sign red or green. That happens after a while. You just keep getting them handed to you. Sean Barton wants to know if you had any pre-match rituals or superstitions.
If I had a match, you get the bat. No, nothing really.
Nothing really. Just get out there and handle business.
Go do it.
More WWE encyclopedias coming in.
Oh, but I'm with Deborah.
There you go.
Life don't get better. Deborah McMichael.
All right, we're getting those encyclopedias coming. These are always a highlight of these signings. Everybody's sending in their encyclopedias, leaving them with us for each talent to sign.
Seed, Britannica.
Yeah, I feel like they put those out now, what, every couple of years, 4 years maybe?
This is an old one. What the hell is that? Dean Ho. he's one of those.
There you go. Dean 007. Ken Graham wants to know, who was the stiffest opponent you've been in the ring with through your career?
Nobody really. You've got a couple guys trying to test you.
I would think in Japan maybe more, right? Yeah. Yeah, I would think that would be an adjustment too. You come back to the United States and you're still working that style, and then they go, calm down.
Looks like Carlito.
I thought he was back. Wasn't Carlito? I guess he just did the Royal Rumble, right? Yeah, he was looking in phenomenal shape when they had him back. So now you're with AEW, and again, you were saying how there's a lot more creative freedom for the talent and everything like that. I'll let you do that first, and then we'll
Is that
continue.
gold or copper?
Yeah, we don't want to confuse it with the bronze. Gold is right here. Is this the auction item now?
No, that's over there. This is just someone's boot game.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if this is
All right. How many more mail orders do we have? I need to have like a heads up of what's going on here.
There's another one over there.
Okay.
And then that chair.
Okay.
See if there's another gold one.
The gold.
No, this is bronze.
I got it. I've been wrong.
And what color? Is there a color for this?
It didn't say.
Didn't say. So I guess for the boot, whatever you want, any color, just your signature. Oh, sorry.
Probably blue or something. How come it says AMD on the bottom?
I have no idea.
Toy Story.
Yeah. Oh, there you. Oh, that went right over my head. There you go.
Yeah, this is silver.
All right. You just bring it over on that side. It's like you're getting ready for dinner. Just
Hold on.
set the table. Yeah. I guess you could take this then.
This is Jacob the Snake.
All right, now we have some more trading cards. Looks like we have some personal photos as well. This is a black just signature. Doesn't say who it's for. Some people like to remain anonymous, apparently.
Nominee. I like to be a nominee.
Look at this young upstart right
Wow.
here.
That was
Black.
what the hell was
Just signature. It says NAWA underneath.
that? Oh, crap. Must be about 10.
Here you are with the ECW Television Championship, and that's something that I have to ask you because I feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit over the past couple hours. You're a funny guy, mild-mannered guy, but very even-keeled. What is it like being in a locker room with the likes of a Sandman or a Sabu or any of those guys? Does it?
Coco for couple bucks.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They're out there.
Yeah, I could imagine.
But it's a crazy business. I've seen guys walk in one door and 10 years later they're nuts.
Yeah. And then you've seen some guys that I'm sure just maintain the same level of nuts the entire time.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, they're nuts 24/7.
Well, here's a great picture. It looks like it was a personal photo. It's Dean with the ECW Television Championship. And like you said, if you want to watch an incredible rise in a short period of time, at least as far as the American wrestling audience is concerned, check out those couple years with Dean Malenko going from ECW to WCW.
Years.
Yeah, I mean, but it's amazing to think about how fast that he really took American wrestling by storm.
American wrestling.
Yeah. All right, this is Rob Williams. This is his chair. Is this the Rob Williams that used to do our signings? I don't know, but Rob Williams, how you doing, buddy? There's your chair. All right, you want to take that for him?
Take this.
All right, and now we have one more Dean Malenko WWE Topps trading card. Black Just Signature.
Back to my coffee.
Indeed. All right, I'm just fine. I had a little bit of a technical glitch on my phone. Let me get back to the chat here. And
Chat. No more, Mr. Mask.
all right, my chat has frozen. It looks like. Let me get back to it. And I think we're back.
Just hit
to business
defrost.
now. All right, we already asked about the pre-match rituals or superstitions, and you said you had none. Which, you know, again, you always hear these different things about guys. They have to do things a certain way. They got to put their boots on a certain way first.
My thing was stretching. I wanted to make sure at least half hour before I went to go to work. I was really good at stretching, maintaining my body.
There you go. No, very important. Very important, especially for some of the high impact stuff that you were doing on TV each and every week. So we are going to be moving on. So what do we have next, guys? Any?
Rolling.
So we'll move on to the auction, or?
Can I have a gavel? Right, 20, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, for the auction, it kind of goes like that, although we do have one participant who seems to clean it up each and every week. Spends a lot of money. As soon as they give me word on what's next. But for those of you watching, don't forget, next week we're back with The Godfather. 80swrestlingcon.com. Place your orders for The Godfather currently. We'll get them going. So we're going to start the auction. All right, so Tommy, what were we going to start this one at again?
1 million.
50. All right, so this is the centerfold from the PWI 1997 PWI 500 Pro Wrestling Illustrated. His first centerfold, but we don't know if it's his only.
Where's the staples?
There you go. Because he was called the Stud, too, so you don't know. So we're going to do the live auction right now. I might need Mike when he's back to give me a heads up in the chat, because sometimes the chat freezes. I need to follow along. So I need somebody that's going to put 3 minutes on the clock also, please. All right. So we're going to get this started in just a little bit. Here's how this works, guys. We do this live. We're going to start this at $50. You're going to have 3 minutes to place your bid. And we're going to see who goes home the winner. Mr. Malenko will sign this item. And then you can win it. I just need... No, yeah, I need somebody
that would
to...
help. That would help.
Yeah. And then if Mike can, I guess, I don't know where he went, the bathroom or something, follow along
Somebody
in
have
the
a
chat.
Jeopardy theme.
Yeah. Da-da-da-da. All right. We are on the clock. Oh, and look, just in time, Emil Menard jumped back in. This is the Dean Malenko centerfold. We're looking for an opening bid of $50. Opening bid of $50.
Got a kid going to college. Let's go.
How many children do you have?
3, one of each.
One of each.
Hey, I'll be wrong.
Well, in 2021, it's actually one of 500 now. If you know, there's a lot of different genders nowadays, but so are they all
Two in college and one's on her way.
good stuff. Good. Well, that's nice though too, because it seems like they're at the age where you retired in the time to be able to spend a lot of time.
Actually, none of them saw me wrestle, which is cool. They just see, whatever on YouTube or whatever we ever
Wow, that's really, really cool. Is that one of the reasons that led for you to retire at the age that you did, because of you wanted to start the family and do all that, or?
Probably around that time, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really special, because you hear a lot of the opposite of that. So it's great that you got to spend the time with the family. So $50 is what we're looking for this centerfold. It will be signed by Dean Malenko. Looking for an opening bid of $50. Emil Menard came in with $50. So Emil,
Okay. No problem.
And then after this, we're going to be moving on to the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine itself. This is the centerfold that it was from. And of course, on the back, the Action Gallery.
The Action Gallery.
Action Gallery. There you are with Rey Mysterio and, Viano. I forgot about the Viano.
Is that Viano 5 or 6?
No, this is actually Viano 4, according to the tights.
Not as good as 4, but a little better than 3.
A little better than 3. Although, did they ever like maybe borrow each other's tights? Maybe one night Viano 4 would be Viano 6 and so
We went
on.
out on dates like that. I was sleeping before last night.
All right, got about another 30 seconds left. Emil Menard has got $50. Can I see 55 or 60?
See something.
Well,
But
we have $50. We have the opening bid, so that counts for something. So is anyone going to top Emil Menard? This will be signed by Mr. Malenko. All right, 7 seconds left. And we are sold to Emil Menard, $50. The Pro Wrestling Illustrated Dean Malenko centerfold. And now we are, those aren't for us, those are, oh, okay. I was like, oh boy. I need the magazine, please. We're gonna start the bidding for that at $100. This is really special. I actually have this at home. It's not in as good a condition as this one is, but as we were discussing earlier, Dean Malenko, we're gonna start the clock at 3 minutes. $100
Wow.
is the opening bid we're looking for. The PWI 500, ranking the top 500 stars in wrestling, and Dean Malenko was #1.
who was 500?
Oh, you know what? Let's look.
I want to know who
Let's look.
preceded me.
All right, so you were #1.
Gotcha.
Hold on a second. And number 500 was Joe Rules.
Joe Rules. My gosh.
Joe Rules. And his bio says, contends to be the greatest wrestler in all of professional wrestling,
course
obsess
he is.
opponents and fans with 4 matches by grabbing the microphone and bragging about his skills. After his championship caliber ranting, though, things tend to go downhill. Underdog status helps him pull off a win when it seems least likely. So, and then, number 494 was Dr. Hertz. Dr. Hertz.
I thought this was
So this is the magazine. We're looking for an opening bid of $100. Dean Malenko, the only man to be ranked #1 in PWI. That was never World Heavyweight Champion, but I think that's a testament to just how good he was and how he took the pro wrestling, mainstream pro wrestling, to a whole new level. Dean Malenko was #1. Sawa was #2. Steve Austin, #3. Followed by Dallas Page, #4. And Lex Luger, #5. So that's quite a who's who in the top 5, but Dean Malenko is #1. And we're looking for an opening bid of $100. All right, we got about a minute left. Looking for an opening bid. If not, if this does not go at auction, it will still be signed by Dean Malenko, and it will be available at the Wrestling Collectors Superstore, or if you follow the 80s Wrestling Auction page run by Tommy Fierro, there's always some great magazines. I love scrolling through my Facebook and stumbling across some of his finds, and a lot of stuff that can be purchased from you, the fans. Follow the Wrestling Collectors Superstore on Instagram and find out what you can get. Emil Menard comes in with a $100 bid. So Emil, for the magazine, can we see 105 or 110? All right, we got about 20 seconds left.
Well, that's the whole magazine.
Yeah, this is the whole magazine, and Emil Menard, who actually got the centerfold, bid on the magazine as well. So we got 10 seconds. Emil Menard at 100. Is someone going to top him? Here we go. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sold to Emil Menard. PWI 500 from 1997 for $100. All right, we have 2 more orders that just came in.
Hot off the press.
Mike Tarras, my good buddy Mike Tarras. In Pennsylvania, there's 1 in green and 1 in red. So 1 in green and 1 in red. Sorry. Meal, $100. And now our final item of the evening. The wrestling boot that will be signed by Dean Malenko once again. If this does not go at auction, it will be available at the Wrestling Collector store. We're going to put 3 minutes on the clock right now.
We're doing this.
Oh, right. Yeah, to Mike and then your name.
Yeah, the next one is red to Mike. All right, so the opening bid is $125. That's what we're looking for this boot, which will be autographed by Dean Malenko. We're looking for an opening bid of $125. 80swrestlingcon.com. We're here next week with The Godfather. 3 weeks, Mark Merrow. Don't forget about Virtual Mania 2 on Sunday, August 22nd. Gonna have a great lineup that day. The Headbangers, Martian Thrasher, Billy Gunn, D'Lo Brown, and of course WWE Hall of Famer and newly signed to AEW, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. It's going to be a very long but fun day, Virtual Mania 2, so make sure you're here for that. 80swrestlingcon.com for all the information. We're looking for an opening bid of $125 for this boot. Got about a minute and a half left, waiting for that opening bid. Quite different from the boots that Mr. Malenko used to wear himself, right? You used to.
Actually, I got. Hey, could we auction this one off?
Yeah. You want to auction off the foot boot?
Yeah.
How much longer you have to rock that thing for?
It depends on how much you get out of it. $1,000, I'm good.
There you go. All right, got about a minute left. Looking for an opening bid of $125.
The one with no tag will be no.
Probably.
You can bring those over. Thank you, man. All right, we got 2 more orders that just came in. We can hold off on these. Got to come. These are the live ones. So this is a red just signature WCW United States Champion in red for that one. There's no names, but these are just orders that came in. And then we've got gold just signature Man of 1,000 Holds coming up. Still looking for an opening bid of $125. We got about 30 seconds left in this auction. If not, it will be going at the Wrestling Collector, or who knows, maybe it'll be auctioned off live on Facebook on the 80s Wrestling auction page. Emil Menard so far with a clean sweep, won the first 2 items. Waiting for him to place an order or place an auction bid on this one, or anybody else. 20 seconds. All right, 10 seconds left.
Just Man of 1,000.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Looks like you'll be having to get this at the Wrestling Collector store. Justin Saley says Dean Malenko will kick anyone's ass. That came in from
This
Justin.
one that just came in.
80swrestlingcon.com.
Yeah. Red?
What's that? Where did Emil had 125? I didn't see it. That's why I was saying if anybody could watch the chat. When did he come in with 125? Was it after I closed it?
1 minute ago.
All right. Well, it's not coming up in my chat. So I just got it just now. All right. So Emil Menard won the boot. 125. Emil Menard, another clean sweep of the auction.
That damn
125?
Yeah, 125. There's like a lot going on right here.
I know.
All right, gold, just signature, and WWF. '80swrestlingcon.com. Can we clear some of this out, guys?
Yep.
You just gave me the boot.
I gave him the boot, indeed.
Literally.
Green. And
Are these orders, or are they separate from?
Separate.
Okay.
Anything else? My name.
put in your name, yeah.
Virtual Mania 2, Sunday, August 22nd. Get those orders in. Check out all the great upcoming signings we have now throughout the fall. We will be back next week with The Godfather. Any more memorabilia or orders coming in? That
I'm looking.
okay. Oh, okay. All right. If you have any questions or comments, we still have some time.
Red.
So please. 80swrestlingcon.com. Next week we got The Godfather. 3 weeks, Mark Merrow. Virtual Mania 2, Sunday, August 22nd. So,
I have to zoom it in.
I didn't know if there was like a glitch.
Totally.
WWF 2000.
Alrighty.
Was it a
Now my
big-
chat is freezing.
Yeah,
Hold on. If you guys are with us, share the link out. We have a few more minutes for some questions or comments. We've got Dean Malenko here with us, current producer, senior producer. I know how much you love when I point that out. For AEW,
Iceman.
WWE producer for 20 years, as well as legendary wrestler in ECW, WCW, and
I forgot about my
WWE.
stint in Glow.
Your stint in Glow, right? Yeah. I remember you with, what was that, Bad Mama Jamma?
Was a big Hawaiian girl? What's her name?
Oh, Mount Fiji.
Mount Fiji.
That's a question that I've always been interested in. You guys had to get a big kick out of seeing what Glow was doing, right? Or was it like kind of looked at as like a disrespectful thing?
Yeah.
No, people enjoyed it.
Actually, who came? Ivory.
Ivory, yeah. Yeah, Ivory was.
I wanted to see it.
She glowed.
Indeed. Bryant Newell, once again, you asked several minutes ago. I'll tell you again. You got to email at 80s Wrestling on the website. I can't answer any of those questions for you, my friend. Have another order coming in right now. All right, Matt Ulrich in California. To Matt, man of 1,000 holds. There you go. That's a silver to Matt, man of 1,000 holds. And you and I were talking about this a little bit off camera. Emil Menard chimes in. Did Dean think AEW or any other promotion would become a great competitor to WWE? We were talking about before the pandemic hit how there was lots of momentum. But it seems like that momentum is starting to swing back around now.
It is.
That's really good.
You can feel it on the live events.
Yeah.
TV days.
Well, I remember you were saying too off camera that you were amazed at how these guys were able to go out there and work with 0 fans in attendance. That's okay. I'm not asking questions. That's all right. I just keep getting interrupted. That's all right. '80swrestlingcon.com. Good question from Tina Mrozek. She says, did you approach an ECW match differently than you did W? If I'm going to be asking questions, you can't just jump in. All right, I'm just saying.
I know.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
That's like the 5th time you've done it.
It was bad timing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Did you approach an ECW match differently than you did WCW? It said you and Eddie had awesome matches in both.
No, not really, because Paul gave us a lot of leeway to do whatever we wanted.
And it sounds like you had that leeway in WCW as well, though, right?
To a certain extent.
To a certain extent. That makes sense. WWE seems like the promotion that was very controlling of everything, right? Stick to the times, do
ECW was fun because it was the first time that me and Eddie really got to show our stuff.
Uh-huh.
And the crowd was very, very respectful to everything we did, from day one.
Yeah, that was one of the first times I remember seeing fans be just as big a part of a match, and not taking anything away from what you guys were doing in the ring, because it was incredible. But it was like the fans were really super involved in those matches, which is awesome to see. Ken Graham says, always enjoyed Malenko and Billy Kidman matches. Looks like they had great chemistry in the ring. Yeah, Billy Kidman was another really talented guy.
Yeah, Billy retired. He's still with the company.
He's still with WWE, huh?
Yeah, he's behind the scenes. He's keeps time.
Oh, wow.
He's a timekeeper.
That's great.
Time with the show, how the show runs.
Yeah, there you go. I can imagine that being a very stressful job as well. 80swrestlingcon.com. We will be back next week with The Godfather. 3 weeks from tonight, Mark Merrow. Virtual Mania 2, Sunday, August 22nd, all-day event. The Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, as well as Billy Gunn, D'Lo Brown, and of course, Mark Henry, the world's strongest man. That will make it official that we've had every member of the Nation of Domination except Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Who's going to be
Which I heard we're working on him too.
Yeah.
I heard we're working on him. We'll get him
He's
in.
close to signing. Maybe back Thursday.
You'd have better chance with Howard Johnson. Or Johnson.
Any more questions or comments? We still have some time left. Keep them coming in the chat.
Just don't talk to us.
Or as Dean says, just don't talk to us. Did you ever play any of the video games that you were in? No, never had an interest in that?
Other videos.
Oh, looks like we have some more memorabilia here.
After Atari went off the air,
There you go.
bleep, bleep.
Now this is cool. World Championship Wrestling Nitro Street Rods. The
Yeah,
Dean-
I got those. I got the big one too.
Ah, that's pretty cool. Dean Malenko, looks like a Corvette, actually. That is pretty cool.
It's actual size.
Black, just signature. There you go.
Here's all this stuff in the box.
All right, and that one's for Brian Newell. Brian Newell, there you go. And also silver, just signature. Silver, just signature.
Okay.
80swrestlingcon.com. Godfather next week. Mark Merrow in 3 weeks. August 22nd. Virtual Mania. Virtual Mania 2. You can actually go back on 80swrestlingcon.com and watch Virtual Mania 1 to get an idea of what you're in for that day. It'll be a very special day.
Skinner and Haku.
What's Skinner and Haku? Yeah, definitely. We were just talking earlier about Steve Kern. Those two. It was like having Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets. It was a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of good times, and really enjoyed myself. What are you laughing? Like I said something disrespectful. I said it to Haku's face. He laughed. If I said it to his face and he laughed, I could say it now. I'm not talking out of turn. Haku put me very at ease. It actually made me realize that if you were somebody that got your nose bitten off or your eyeball ripped out by Haku, you probably were a bad person to begin with. Because I don't know how you could make that man that angry. He was such a gentleman. All right, so right here we have the WCW United States Championship, which you held proudly.
Not your own.
No, yeah, now I'm holding it. I just beat you for it. That's what happened off camera. People didn't see it. He tapped out. But no, this is going to be signed. I guess you can sign on the back in silver there. And there you go. Oh, that silver isn't working. Well, we got several silvers to choose from, so have at it. That one's not working either. All the silvers are kind of running out of commission. Third time's a charm. Got it? So the WCW United States title, one of the most coveted championships in all of professional wrestling. And there you go. It was just signed. And here you go. This is for Emil Menard, our auction champion. And also now the proud holder of the WCW United States Championship, which has been signed exclusively here on Monday Night Virtual by Dean Malenko, also Nikita Koloff, and of course, Stan the Lariat Hansen.
Stan signed it?
Yes, he did. He's got it right here on the other buckle. So you're in good company, Mr. Malenko. I believe we have time for a few more orders or questions. I'm kind of working on the fly here. 80swrestlingcon.com. Always enjoyable. Malenko and Billy Kidman. I got to that one. Keep those questions and comments coming in. What's that? All right, let me scroll up. I think my chat froze because I'm not. What's that? Yeah, I got a meal. Oh, Emil wants to know what was your favorite championship to hold. Was there one that stood out for you? One that meant more, maybe a little more prestigious or not?
Not really. I mean, the cruiserweight, people say what they want about it, but you had about 20 guys who are really, really gifted. So you call yourself the champion, to me, is pretty darn good. I think of other guys, it's pretty good.
There was a point that a friend of mine raised once, and I kind of agree with it. Like when Rey Mysterio became World Heavyweight Champion in WWE, there was still a cruiserweight title. So does that kind of take away from the cruiserweight championship when you have a guy who, is 175 pounds as the World Heavyweight Champion? Doesn't that automatically... It does? Yeah, because I never understood the logic of that with, all right, well, that guy's the world champion.
It's the same thing when the cruiserweights are having a match and then you pull the cruiserweight out.
Yeah.
Like, let's say Jimmy Wang Yang, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
You put him with Mark Henry.
Yeah.
Mark Henry just destroys him. Well, he just killed any kind of credibility that Jimmy had before he got in the match.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was always kind of interested in how that worked out when they would do stuff like that. Because I believe at the time when Ray won the World Heavyweight title, Chavo Guerrero Jr., a phenomenal worker, was the cruiserweight champion. And it's like, well, he's bigger than Ray, so why wouldn't he just go for the world title?
It's confusing.
It's very confusing, but that is the wacky world of professional wrestling. Before we wrap this up,
I always looked at the cruiserweights as a style of work more so than the size guy.
that's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
That is the way to look at it. So before we wrap this up, is there anything that you'd like to plug? Anything you have coming up that you want to...
My receding hairline.
He is the man of 1,001 liners.
Actually, it's M for Malenko when I'm upside down. It's W for win.
There you go. And I'll tell you what, it looks better than mine. If I let this grow in like a day, I get patches over here. I look like a burn
I
victim.
love patches.
So, I believe we got the signal to go home. 80swrestlingcon.com. My name is Ryan Marr. The man next to me is the man of 1,000 holds, Dean Malenko. He's doing some last-minute orders that just came in. We thank you guys for joining us. We're going to be back next Monday with The Godfather, Papa Shango, Kama the Ultimate Fighting Machine, and then we'll be back with Virtual Mania 2 on Sunday, August 22nd, all day long, streaming right here live on Facebook. Follow at 80s Wrestling on Instagram. Follow at Ryan Marr Comedy on Instagram. If you're in the Jersey area, I'll be at Jenks Comedy Club tomorrow night. Bird and Betty's at LBI on Thursday. Come check me out. Mr. Dean Malenko, any parting words for the fans?
See ya.
There you go. The man of many words. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Take care.